Wow.
What
It's
a week.
time. Look at our uniforms. This wasn't even planned.
It wasn't, but look at us. We look great.
Yeah, trying a
We
different
look like
angle.
employees. We gotta calm down.
That's right. That's right. How you doing,
There's no
buddy?
paychecks yet. I'm doing. It's been a week, Alex. It's been a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah,
It's been a
it's
week.
Good Friday today. So for all of the it was a stat holiday here. I don't know if it was a stat holiday down in the US. Maybe for some. Are you guys more
That
the
might
Monday?
explain why I didn't have many emails today.
Yeah, Easter's always weird. Like I don't like that Easter's always different every year, like for when it arrives, right? Because
Yeah, a
sometimes
set
it's
date
end of
would be nice.
March. Yes, exactly. But I mean, this date was set
But
in
you know what
stone.
trumps that this weekend?
What's that?
It's WrestleMania weekend.
See, I don't watch wrestling, so like
Uh,
I'm an
there's a
adult.
lot of closeted wrestling fans out
Like,
there, and I've run into like two of them in the last 2 days that I
mm,
wasn't aware of. But what a pleasant experience!
I
They're all out
can't
there.
I can't open Netflix with like, oh, do you want to watch WrestleMania instead of whatever you want to watch? I'm like, no, get this out of here. I don't want this. But I also
I'm gonna
feel
get you. I'm
lost.
gonna get you.
Like I feel lost in conversation sometimes. You know, like how you can't engage in conversation. You're just kind of like
Guilty. I do that to you. I'm sorry.
That's right. That's right.
I do that. But
But
yeah, it's been a week, man. I brought
yeah.
my car into the service center at
Hmm.
Volkswagen to get my fuel actuator uh, replaced because
Hmm.
there's been a couple times I've made it to the gas station and the fuel door won't open, and I'm very
Yeah.
frustrated.
That's
Um,
I mean, I do miss the days of the kind of the raised notch to open the gas door.
that's
You
all I
know,
wanted.
where
I just
simpler
like
times.
so I had to have a trim tool in the glove box and a microfiber to
Yeah.
like in a pinch. So I
Yeah.
brought that in. That was on Monday. Then
Hmm.
the Mini Cooper got a pretty bad rock chip on the windshield
Yes.
right at
Yes.
right after that. I think it was the same day as that. So I've had my car sitting on the lot. I didn't get it back till today. It's been sitting, but I guess that's a good thing, right? It means they didn't wash it,
Yeah.
so that means they didn't
Yeah.
screw that. But the Safe Light guy, I mean, he was leaning up on the Mini Cooper, so I haven't even
I
taken the
I
light to that yet.
I told you to get the fender defenders or something out. Like
He had his own. I I don't want to
oily
look at it yet.
rag.
I don't want to look at it yet.
No. Just
But yeah,
sell it.
he was using paper towels. I think he wiped
Oh,
the A pillar with the paper towel. And they're gloss black. It's been a
yeah.
week.
Yeah, I had a rock chip and it was minus 20 Celsius going to work one morning. And I literally like I'm just gonna be late. So I went and just got it filled. But they had to keep it
Mhm.
in the shop for like 20, 30 minutes to get it up to let's call it room temperature because the glass
Yeah.
was so cold. Even though it was in the garage overnight, like it was only in sub-zero for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, man, freaking of course. But it just wasn't done as good as they could have because it was cold and it's just like it's kind of smeary. But like I've gotten very proficient with the little like do-it-yourself kits. Like
Yeah.
the Permatex one is phenomenal. I really
This
like
one was
that one.
pretty bad, so I was like,
That was
I'm not gonna.
it's that
It looked
that's
like a
the
gunshot through the windshield. So
yeah.
there's obviously still a blemish there because it was so
It's
big, but it's whatever.
GB20 hits, eh?
Well,
What is
I may
this?
have helped one of our friends get a new computer in a pinch today. So
Mm,
shout out to Bradley.
yeah. I hope he likes his new Chromebook. Anyways, so it's a big day. It's a big day.
It is a big
He
day. I don't think anyone thought this day would happen,
no, and it was certainly
especially
on
me.
it was yeah, your new best friend. It was certainly on the radar for sure to have him on. And
Mhm.
then, we had a little like video and some messages sent to us from like a inside the hex vlog.
Yeah, we did get some black market inside the hex
I love that.
footage. I'm not
Yeah.
going to disclose any names because I don't
No.
want their membership getting revoked. But we
Yeah.
did get some crooked computer
Yeah.
screen recording footage, and yeah, it sounded like our friend was begging to come on.
Mhm. It's like when what do they call that when the people are take a crappy video camera like a Sony Handycam into a movie theater
But like
and just
taken with yeah.
it's kind of like that.
I
But
always think of the Seinfeld episode with
okay.
Kramer making the bootleg movie tapes. What a good episode.
Love that. Excellent. Well, what do you say
we've got. I think we should bring them in because the chat's popping. We've got almost 20 people here. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Like, get them on in. And yeah, I think we should bring them on in.
Heck yeah.
Are you doing the clickies? There it is.
Hello.
What's up, Matt?
Hello, Mr. Matt.
What's up, people? I was just posting that we're going live on Instagram. So
yeah, I saw that.
Trying to get some people
nice.
to come watch us.
We appreciate the support, and we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
it's fun. I was watching last week. I'm like, I was at the rag company. How come I'm not invited to come on?
It was an open door, but yeah, we didn't know your schedule, but it was
It
was in the books.
Invite,
yeah. It was in the books though, because if you remember, I handed you a sticker for this podcast. I wasn't expecting you to subscribe and say you'd come on right away, but we wanted to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, anytime I get to talk about passion, detailing, washing cars, taking care of stuff, talking about garages, I mean, it's always fun. I was really looking forward to this today because normally my day's booked solid and I didn't have like anything. I only had one meeting scheduled and then this podcast. So I just felt I was kind of looking forward to just chatting about fun stuff.
Yeah, when you said you were available on the 18th or one of the other dates, I was like, either's fine. And then I was like, wait, that's like in a few days. Like, so we appreciate it.
But no, like you said, with the passion thing, because today was a stat holiday for us, so I had the day off. But I took the day off I was detailing the interior of a Ford Excursion, and I don't envy full-time detailers. That is not something I would want to do, especially like disaster level. And I'm like, this is kind of the last time that I think I'm gonna do like any disaster level, because
it looked like there was a quarter-inch thick layer of honey smeared on the one of the seats. I don't
know if this guy, he's an electrician that's done some work in my garage for me, but I don't know if he has kids or like if it's like, I don't even know if the vehicle's his or like his family's, because like, I know his parents. But yeah, there was just like this thick goop on the seat, and I'm just like, there's guys that have to deal with this every single day. And I'm like, I am so happy that I don't need to do this, and I can kind of pick and choose that I want. And moving forward, it's like, hey, like I love, I do prefer exteriors more, obviously, but it's nice to be able to say no.
I just can't fathom spilling something like that and then not dealing with it immediately.
Yeah, there was probably half a bag of goldfish crackers in that.
I don't get it. Like I said it last week. I had spilled my Dutch Bros when I went to pick it up in the car, and it was like eating me that I knew that I had some in the seat that I didn't quite get, that I ran out and did after the podcast, and I didn't expect the podcast to be 3 hours long. So yeah, it was quite the time. But we've got a bunch of our good buddies in the chat. Dane has to leave. Thank you for stopping by, Dane.
Pickleball? Interesting. I know he's flexible, but I don't know. It's kind of like, to me, there's only
so much to do in Boise,
I guess.
Dane's on the come up. He's got his diet dialed in. He's getting active, getting fit. And so
he looks great.
You've got to admire the grind. You got to go.
Definitely.
It's hard to get over that critical mass. And so I've struggled with that all the time. But
he's been doing great, and I've been catching up on like some of your videos, your wash and talks with Anthony over the last year or whatever.
The best
that I hadn't seen before, and yeah, man, you've put on some muscle too. You look great yourself. So congrats on I guess it's all the steaks.
I just ate one like 10 minutes ago.
Dang.
Yeah.
That sounds
good. I got home. I'm like, I got to make a steak real fast so I can go up, and otherwise I'm going to go down and eat a bunch of junk. So I got to get that out of the way, so that way I can get the eating out of the way. And then what I'm planning on doing, I've borrowed a bunch of garages around here. So I've got like 3 houses, 3 other people's garages, because I got all these stinking cars. Yeah. And so what my plan is, the one house is about 2.5 miles away. And so I'm going to take one of the Amiras over. So I washed it this morning, take it over, and then I'm going to jog back or ruck back. So I want to get eating done now so I can come back and then hit sauna afterward is my plan. So
nice. Sounds like
take
a
the
good
car
Friday
there,
night.
drop it off. Yeah, take a jog back. That's like a grown-up Friday night,
That's
That's
right.
my ideal Friday. Like
Yeah.
I think back to like my early 20s and stuff, and how we used to go out at, I don't know, we'd get ready to go out at 10 o'clock at night or something like that. And now I'm sitting on the couch at like 9 o'clock on a Friday, and I'm going, people are getting ready. People are like showering to go out. I'm showering to go to bed right now.
Yeah.
I've only gotten suckered to go out maybe 5 times in my life.
Okay.
And they were like 2 or 3 years apart each time, and then it would sterilize me for 2 or 3 years. And then my buddies are like, "Let's go to the dueling piano bar," and I'm like, I'm driving myself. No, come with us. We're not going to stay out that late. And then I get stuck. This is before Uber, right? So there's no going home, and I'm stuck out. Then of course I have to be the designated driver on the way home.
Oh,
and so
geez.
that's only
It's
happened
the
to me
worst.
half a dozen times in my life.
It's the worst, because I'm a big fan of also having my vehicle like accessible so that I can just, Irish goodbye whenever I need to.
Yeah.
But then you're right. It becomes the designated driver situation. And then I'm like, I got 2 drunk guys in my car now. Like, what are they messing up back there? That kind of thing. So I get it.
Yeah. See, I've never had a drink, so I've never, and I get real sketched out. People start hugging you and stuff.
They get too lovey.
I get real sketched out, and so I don't like that whole scene.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. I think it's out of fear of throwing up. Like, I just assume if you had 1 drink of alcohol, you'd immediately start projectile vomiting, and I'm definitely afraid of that.
Some people are like
think about it, it's like, it's essentially a poison, right? Like and how much of that poison is going to get you to get it back up. So I
also
think,
the addictiveness, like I'm definitely afraid of. I'll be like instantly addicted because I have an addictive personality. So.
Yeah. I think I think it must be the older that I get that I start to like agree with Matt more. There's no other explanation for it. I can't explain it, but like, the idea, like I drink on occasion, right? Like my birthday's in 2 weeks. I'll probably have a couple drinks on my birthday.
You're a freaking grown up. Birthdays are for children.
I like to be taken to dinner.
Oh boy.
Whenever my wife goes, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do for your birthday?" I go, "Nothing. I just want like a dinner would be nice. A dinner that like I don't have to plan. I don't have to think about. That's all I want."
I want to be,
but I don't take the day off of work. I'm not that much of a.
Do you let them like buy you like a birthday cake at the office and You guys performed my worst nightmare, which is the happy birthday at the frickin' restaurant.
I was in the bathroom and I missed it.
I had no idea that was happening. Well, because I was talking to Jimmy about something, and he was just like, he was shaking, and he kept like turning around, like it looks like he was just like tweaking out. I'm like, buddy, what's the matter? He's like, something big's coming. I'm like, what? I'm like, just tell me what it is. He's like, no, it's fine. It's gonna be good. And then all of a sudden, then they come out. I'm like, okay, there it is.
John Green and I are talking about the virtues of being he's COO, an operator, and how does the company not outgrow you, because he's one of the founding employees, and so we're having this like deep conversation, and I turn. And there's a freaking birthday cake in front of me. And I'm like, my birthday's in January. What is going on here?
Yeah, I was so confused because everyone's like, his birthday was months ago, but just go along with it. And we're like,
I think they just wanted the free, like, because I guess the birthday dessert is like really good. And so then you knew that I would hate it. And so they picked me. It's funny though, like in all circles, I always become the heel for some reason.
Okay. Okay.
So for the rag company,
you're pretty
boys,
good at turning it on Anthony.
Oh,
You're pretty good at making Anthony a heel.
Anthony's a special kind of human. Anthony, by the way, he's no question one of my favorite humans on the planet. He and I we're like magic together. It's fun.
Yeah,
you are, and like I said, I've been watching these wash and talks with you guys that like I haven't watched before, like for the first time, and like it's genuinely a chemistry that you can't.
He honestly believes he could beat me at anything. Which is crazy. Like if he thinks he can beat me in a foot race and a push-up contest and a mountain bike, it doesn't matter what it is.
Is there anything you think he could beat you in?
A racing
legitimately.
Sim. A racing sim. That's about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything else, I mean, it's like no contest. Like if we were playing basketball or we were playing tennis, if we were riding mountain bikes, we were running, any kind of fitness competition, it would be in a total annihilation.
I'll tell you what, he'll beat you in a small hand competition.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, little baby gloves.
You remember that? I was trying to put those gloves on and I could not get my hand in.
He was like a child's medium.
It's so awesome because he believes it. Like I know it. Like I know for a fact, like this is no contest. And he believes like there's no way. And so I just find that so fun. I find it so fascinating.
It's awesome too, because like a lot of your responses are like he gets more animated and worked up, and yours are kind of, just settled down and deadpan almost. And I think that's what works. And like I messaged you earlier and told you like when you guys were arguing about Dreammaker and you said you spray it here, you spray it there, you spray it on your anus, it doesn't matter, it doesn't work. I nearly spit my coffee out. I was cracking up.
But see, that gets me in trouble, Joey. This is why it took you a long time to warm up to me, because I say ridiculous stuff. That's truly, you guys have met me. That's truly who I am, right? I'm just I don't have a filter. And so that gets me in trouble with a lion's share of the general population. But it also is what has created this amazing business that I have, where people that get it really get it, because there's no nonsense, there's no extra. I don't have enough talent to have some like personality and then be me. There's only one. You only get one, and this is what you get.
Yep.
And so I think I'm often misunderstood, and I'm very aware of that.
Right.
I just don't care. You can't. If you do, then what we do, then this whole passion driven life, I now get the benefit of. And I'm such a gratitude that I'm able to do what I do, able to just live life of passion. That's very rare that people get to do that. And so I just can't compromise on that, no matter what other people think. And I think the more time that goes by, the more I mature, and the more opportunity there is for a Joey to turn the corner and say, maybe he's not that bad. And then I grow on you, and I'm like, I really like this guy. What am I going to do about it? What am I going to do?
Well, let's not jump the gun, Matt. Let's take it slow, okay? Maybe you got to take me out for steaks first. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But no,
what a time.
I agree with that. I'm sorry. I'm seeing comments about the splitting the pants, and now I've lost my train of. They put that video out today. It was nice reliving with the edit.
Perfectly edited.
It's funny. All of my guys, the Obsessed Garage, all my guys, like they have my back, and so they think the rag company guys, they're making fun of me. I said, no, I'm making fun of myself.
It's such a good edit.
Understand that they are. But it's in good fun. But they, sometimes they get like, I think these guys are like, they think that I'm unaware of what's happening.
Yeah.
I think the best part about it was that you just owned it for the whole day. I mean, there was offers to go back to the hotel to change. You're like, nope, it's fine.
It didn't even occur to me until after the fact that you went out that night. Well, I don't know, it was the axe throwing or whatever in those pants.
Whatever.
Yeah. But I was back to what you were saying about just being the same, on and off camera. I like to think that, like it was my first time meeting Alex in person. It was my first time meeting everyone at TRC for the most part. Like I hopefully think that they think I'm the same, because I'm not trying to put on a character for this.
It's too hard to be different. Like it's too hard to have one and the other. Like
I will say though, I think being so opinionated on these various podcasts I've been a part of has kind of led me to be more opinionated at work. Luckily, it hasn't gotten me into trouble yet, but I catch myself sometimes and I go, hold on, this is now my employer.
I think there's a difference between an opinion and experience, right? So when you have experience in something, yes, you're sharing your lived experience, which is an opinion, but it's backed by something. If you're just running around spouting things, I hate this, I hate that, but you haven't actually either purchased it or used it or been in the presence of it. It's like I used to say, I hate Corvettes. And so I freaking bought one, and now I know I hate Corvettes. And I have some experience rather than just spouting off this opinion.
But you had to scratch the itch to know it.
Yeah. And there's certain things I liked about it. I love how they sound. I don't like how they look. I don't like the seating position, and then that horsepower is great,
Yeah.
and then owning one, I found myself, I was at a stoplight one time, and I had a carbon 65, and I dialed it all in, C7 Corvette Z06. I'm sitting in a stoplight, and it was like an out of body experience. Like some car was messing with me. I'm like, first of all, you've got no chance. So that's what all Corvette guys think. Like, what are you doing? I'm going to, we got like 700 horsepower. I'm going to annihilate you.
Yeah.
That was the first thought. And the second thought was, hey, it's not my car. Like this, I'm in somebody else's car. It was like this like out of body experience.
Right.
Like I'm a Porsche guy. I'm just trying this. I almost wanted to like roll down the window and yell.
You need like a sign, right? Like a bumper sticker. Like, this is not my car.
Yeah.
Would you take the Corvette over the backseat of a Mini Cooper?
Yeah, that's a tough call. That's like a 50-50 deal.
It is.
I don't know if we told that story last week or not. I can't remember.
I think it was lightly brought up, but it was.
We touched on it that we shoved Matt in the back of the Mini Cooper and drove him back to the hotel. But
three rather large dudes in a tiny car.
That was kind of the theme of the week.
Yeah.
I've never had to. I had the seat moved up fairly far. And I've never had to operate a clutch with my foot kind of at like a 60-degree angle, almost with my heel. So that was kind of fun. But no, it was a great drive. I wish, it's like you don't realize how far Anthony is out of town, until you're actually like driving back.
Well, when you're driving during the day there, like the sun was out, I was like, oh, it's pretty, right? Like, like Idaho's got some nice sunsets and stuff. But then like driving back at night, you're like, how far did this guy live?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, it seems far there, but living in California, like everything's like 20 minutes away. So it's,
but yeah, kind of the whole experience thing is I actually saw a guy the other day with a hoodie on, and on the back of the hoodie it says, "Pay me for my experience, not my time." And I'm like, hey, that's actually pretty cool. And it's, kind of goes with just about anything. Like even with, we had talked about it while being at TRCMA, is that, I had only really visually seen all like the quote unquote OG spec stuff. And, I see all the hate that it gets online and all the love that it gets online. And I'm like, I'm not going to make a decision on if it's good or not. I'm like, I get to touch and feel it when I'm there. And it for sure is 100% the real deal. And the experience of touching and feeling it and using it, I'm like, man, this would be amazing. Even today, like I have like the Bissell wall mount vacuum in my garage, and like, pardon the pun, but it was really not sucking today. And I'm like, I bet you that OG spec vacuum is like top notch, because you haven't steered many people wrong with certain things. And I know the vacuum was a long time coming. And I'm like, man, I think like that's something that would really change.
Where that vacuum, so it's a modern day, they make the vacuum. Modern day specializes in like whole home central vac stuff, and then commercial stuff. That vacuum was designed for mobile pet groomers, and so it needed to be quieter, and it needed to be a little smaller and more compact. And so in order to do that, they do what would normally be classified as an inferior motor. So it's a bypass type where it sucks, the suction and the cooling is the same inlet, whereas a tangential type motor would have a separate inlet for suction and then for cooling. And so the motor that is technically inferior, and it doesn't create quite as much flow. But what we found is, it's just so much more enjoyable to have a quieter unit. And then in order to get quieter, we have the technically inferior motor. And then you're able to get more usable suction, water lift versus flow. What I'm getting at is this is where experience comes in. You just gotta immerse yourself. I don't know jack about vacuums. And when I go into the vacuum world, they're like, what is this douchebag doing in vacuums? You don't know anything about vacuums. But then I want to go in as an enthusiast. And what I found in life is if you go in as an enthusiast, oftentimes you can pass up the subject matter experts simply because you love it and they're kind of get lazy on it. And so that's what Obsessed Garage has become, and a lot of the OG spec stuff. And where I've gotten in trouble a lot in the world is I just don't accept that I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to be a detailer. I'm not allowed to find a vacuum. I just don't accept that. And it's changed my life, and it's afforded me to take that obsessiveness and then go chase something and figure it out. I don't know if the vacuum we're using is the very best in the world, but I know it's darn good, and it may be. And if it's not, it's going to be pretty close. And when I find the one that is better, I'll punt and do the next one. And
but
that's
also
where
I would say
not
that your
everybody can
audience,
believe. That's hard to believe that I would do that. That's hard to believe, and I get that. Sorry, Joe.
and I would guess that a lot of your audience isn't necessarily buying the vacuum for disaster detailing, right? So it's going to be enough to maintain a vehicle. Like our cars don't get, mine's dirty because it's sat at the dealership for a week, but like our cars don't get that dirty normally. So I think that's like having a technically inferior motor, like you said, like the experience, you might see it on paper and be like, but for what you need it to do and to have a clean package to offer it in, it makes sense.
I bought 9 different versions and had them make different versions. Say, I want the superior motor. I need the flow. I need the extra suction. And then when we used it, I'm like, man, I can't. There's no benefit to this extra flow. Now, if I was sucking a bucket of rocks out of or a bunch of rocks out of a bucket, it would matter. The flow would matter. But in real practical use, the suction. So suction is measured in water lift, inches of water lift. So a high inches of water lift would be like 150, 160 inches of water lift spec. And then a higher flow would be, flow means volume. A higher flow would be something like that, 180, 200, CFM. And so we bought a pitot tube, and I'm like, I want to figure this out. And then the pitot tube tells you one thing, the specs tell you another thing, but then when you just put the Buff Bright suction thingy, the hammerhead on the darn end of the thing and suction some carpet, there's the real world application combined with how loud is this thing. And so then somebody has to decide who's going to make the decision on what the best version is. And because of the lengths I'm willing to go, I've always felt like maybe I could be the guy to make that decision for people, and then that thesis has been proven correct because although I'm not leading with money, the result is people spend or, they vote with their wallet. And then, and I'm easy to hate because I'm telling you, well, this sucks and that sucks and this is great and that sucks. And that makes it easy. So I thought about, moderating on that and creating a caricature, but I don't want to live that life.
That's fair enough. I just like how I've loved being able to put things on the wall and get it off the floor. And so the aesthetics of a wall-mounted vacuum really appeal to me because it's especially kind of in our segment with Adam. He made a good point. He said any level of friction you can reduce in your daily operations are going to make the experience better.
Functionally excellent products make your life better. There is substantial. I mean, Obsessed Garage is the embodiment of diminishing returns, right? You can certainly do almost anything that I'm doing with the products that I'm using for a lot less money and have a reasonable result. But what's the summation of these little incremental functionally excellent experiences can make it, make you smile, like literally smile when you're doing this hard manual labor out there, paint correcting, washing your car, cleaning your interior. That's been the pursuit for me, is to make my own personal experience better. And knowing that not everybody is cursed the way I am with this obsession means that there's a value proposition there to the world that, man, maybe I could leverage this to provide value so I can have an equal exchange with the audience, right? So I have an equal exchange with the people that are buying and voting with their wallet. And so that's been the epiphany. See, I thought that detailing was just a conduit for me to drive people to my job, which was a stockbroker, a financial advisor. And that conduit, was just, I was moonlighting or faking it as a stockbroker, and I was destined to do what I'm doing, which is to find great products and then hopefully provide the value proposition to people. That's the goal.
Did you feel this like immediate rush over you when you discovered it? Like, this is it? Like, did you have a moment that was like, this is it?
I was trying to figure out a way to make a bridge. I just kept saying there needs to be a bridge. There's Obsessed Garage, and I call it Obsessed Wealth Management. And Obsessed Garage, I need to build this bridge. And my coach knew that this was nonsense. I'm the bridge. There is no bridge. They're both the same thing. Obsessed Wealth and Obsessed Garage were the same thing. Right. So I was still trying to build a bridge when I got fired from wealth management. You know, they walked me out the door because I'd stepped over the line. You know, I was always trying to find the line. What's the line? You know, because the way they're doing it is old and tired and going to fail at some point. But you know, it's their business, not mine. And I tried to push a little too hard on that. So Joey, I would have never quit. There wasn't some like epiphany. Oh my gosh, this is what I'm going to do. It was, well, this is what I'm forced to do. I know I don't want to go try to sue and get my clients back and do all that. So I'm going to go all in on this retail curated idea. And, you know, rest is history. It took off. But I just thought me talking about Colonite 845 and automatic short gun and sprayer was my conduit to show people how smart I was. And then they would look me up and find me in wealth management. And I was looking for ways because everybody thought I was a detailer. They're like, well, how do you own a GT3? And there are some detailers that do really well, but the average person doesn't know that. And so they're like, how does he have a GT3 and an M3 and it's a big house? And he's a detailer. So then they start Googling. They'd start Googling, like, how's this guy have these cars if he's just washing cars on the side? And I never see him working on any customers' cars. So what's going on here?
Yeah.
And so
they're always clean.
People would Google me and try to find out who I was. But I wanted to like be able to say, here's who I am. I'm pretty good at managing money. I want to manage your money. And because I was doing all this crap to get clients in wealth management, and I didn't want to do that anymore. You know?
Yeah, that's
so they fired me, and that forced my hand and changed my life. Boy, it sucked though. Man, it sucked.
I bet.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting sued and my license is revoked. And I'm like this criminal. I didn't do anything wrong. Like I didn't do anything wrong. And I'm like sitting in a room with regulatory attorneys and compliance officers. And I'm just like distraught.
That's
just
terrifying.
Horrible. Horrible. Jeez. Yeah. And
I thought getting a cease and desist letter was bad enough.
I got one of those today.
Oh, today! Congratulations.
It's cease and desist Friday, baby.
Let's do it.
I can't tell you who it was from, but yeah, it's a funny one.
That's awesome.
They have a good point, so I might have to relent a little bit. But I'm making a completely different product, so we'll see how it goes.
Nice.
But that would have crushed me, 5 years ago. Being crushed and then rebuilt. It's like, we can talk it out. We can work it out. I see your point. Put myself in their shoes has been a real life-changing for me.
Yeah. It's kind of been, and that's kind of too is, with just kind of the maturing aspect that we talked about is, I always try to look at things from the other side as well, like kind of going back to when we talked about people hating something. It's like, well, why? Like explain it. Don't just say you hate it to say you hate it to, jump on the bandwagon of someone else. Like have a valid argument as to why you don't like something.
That's another tough thing for people to understand. I mean, you guys are getting a sense of this. Now you're getting information at scale. Right. You're getting information because now you guys are, chasing passion. You now have access to information you didn't have as just a customer.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
it's a weird feeling.
So take what you guys, so I've been doing a lot longer. And so I have been absorbing information from comments. So from intelligent people commenting, from unintelligent people commenting, from, all walks of life commenting. That's one source of information. The other is like, I'm in the factories. Like I'm there and I'm walking around it, and I'm, Griot's Garage invited me in, and I was able to like video their chemistry lab and stuff. It was freaking awesome.
Great series, by the way. Yeah, it was great.
And so that information it helps to like, I can use pressure washing as an example. I bought over 100 pressure washers, tested them out.
Yeah.
And so I can tell from all of that experience, I can almost tell without testing something. Like I could tell the giraffe was nonsense the second that I saw a picture of it. And so then people get really mad when I just say, look, I don't even need to try. I just know.
Yeah.
You just know. And unless you've gone through this decade of pursuit, you can't just rest on the time, but I actually did the work. And so now when I see something, very rarely does my gut lead me astray. And so that, gets me in trouble all the time when I say, look, I mean, first of all, there's more to it than just the product. Who are the people behind it? Like, who's Giraffe? Who's Mr. Giraffe?
Yep.
And we all know,
it's like the Toys R Us giraffe, whatever his name was.
Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Whereas, there's the other companies where you just know that there's a family behind it. It's 80 years, and they didn't buy some other company and they're hiding behind 80 years. Merca is family owned, and like there's like a family that has been building their products for a number of years, for decades, multiple generations. And so there's other factors that go into it that the general public doesn't quite get. And so there's been a little bit of this disconnect from my transition from being just the general customer that had a little bit of access to now a rather sizable business, and then access to information that's kind of unexplainable, and then a lot of results and testing and trial and error that makes the scale and speed at which I can figure things out is much, much different than when 10, 15 years ago, when I was just a guy in my garage trying out Griot's, number 3 polish and not knowing why it's terrible and doesn't work,
bare feet in the middle of the morning.
Yeah, because I didn't know that Menzerna existed. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know that polishes should just wipe off and you don't have to use a belt sander to get the polish
I
off.
didn't know I didn't have to like completely wash the car again because of the dust everywhere. Like once I found good things, it was like night and day. But I think you articulated something that I've constantly said, like, sometimes I miss just washing my car and not knowing what I know. But I think like you said, the access to that information that we've slowly been getting, that's what it is. It's knowing this and having an opinion of something other than just the product. Like I sometimes miss just sitting there with the product.
That naivete of you just kind of, you don't really know what's in the bottle, and it seems to be working for you. And you don't know what else is out there. So you're like, well, I'm just going to keep going with this. But the benefits to me have been, I love products. I love the process of trying something out. I love that feeling when you find something, you're like, wow, this is like, I just cleaned my seats with the Later Max, this leather cleaner from Germany.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, man, it's just, occasionally you stumble upon something, or the first time I held a Merca 3-inch, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's super. And then it's even more satisfying to me to know that, man, I could like share this with others.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
It's cool that you don't just want to keep it for yourself. So many people find stuff and they're like, no, that's mine. Like, that's my little secret that nobody needs to know about. So that's cool.
Yeah. And the person that doesn't, they don't recognize the effort, they don't recognize the risk, thinks that, well, the only reason you care to share it is so you can make money. Well, to me, and I, if you don't believe it, you don't believe it. To me, money is just a result. Money is a result of the invitation of people to watch what I'm doing, to see what I'm doing. I'm going to try to provide as much value as possible. Sure. And then, I ask, as graciously as possible, would you mind honoring the source and getting it from me? And because I hopefully have provided an equal exchange in value there, then the result is that you make a lot of money, comes from it. But it doesn't come easy. Now, what you hope is that it starts to come easier as you scale. Yes. So the risk comes off, and it's like, they used to teach us in Financial Advisor when we were training. It said, work harder than anyone else will work for 10 years, and then you'll be rewarded more than anybody else for the rest of your life. And so I've kind of lived by that mantra. I'm not sure when I get to shut it down, but maybe someday I can slow it down a little bit.
Right.
Do you ever burn out?
No.
Okay.
No. The only thing that happens to me is when I give myself a promotion, I tend to feel lost. So that's happened probably 4 or 5 times. Right. When I got fired from wealth management, I was doing 3 jobs. I was a web developer to buildingobsessedgarage.com.
Yep.
I was a YouTuber. social media influencer, douchebag, whatever you want to call that. And I
may have called you that. I apologize.
I was a financial advisor, and I was actually a manager too. I was a resident director. And so when they took those two of those things away, like I felt so like out of sorts, so worthless. Like this is what I did. Another time was when I stopped editing videos and I hired somebody to help me edit the videos. I'm like, well, now what am I going to do? Or, Black Friday, that's the third Black Friday. They kicked me out and said, no, you're messing up the packaging. You're packaging the wrong stuff. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? So all these people are working like, 20 hours a day. And I'm like sitting in my office feeling terrible.
Right.
I'm like, I'm screwing all these people. I should be in there digging the ditch the fastest. The problem is I don't know how to dig anymore. Like I don't know how to dig at the level that they're digging. It's a different level.
Sure.
And so I've had these periods where I've never been burnt out. I find it's impossible to burn out if you're doing what you love.
Right.
At least it is for me. I don't take vacations. I don't take days off. But I have a lot of time. Like you guys, I'm not like putting myself out here. I'm just do whatever I do when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and try to figure out how to engineer that to where it still has some success. And luckily, the thing that I want to do happens to have a result of profitability at the end. And it requires me to do less and less things that I don't like doing that I had to do in the beginning, that as you took them away from me, I've laid on the couch, felt sorry for myself until that time got filled with whatever the next level was. And that's been the hardest thing for me to do. Being a trailer park kid, you do it all yourself, and then learning when you invite others to help, you got to let them do it. Get out of the way.
I think that's go ahead.
Even if you think you can do it better. I mean, I think that's a required trait. I believe I can do everything better than everybody that's doing, the work, to provide leverage. And then when you finally realize, well, shoot, these people are really good. I'm not as good as them. It's like the most satisfying feeling of all time. You just let it go.
Yeah.
You have to have that bravado and belief in order to take the risk to go down that path. But then when you relent and when you realize, well, shoot, this, Michael Wabb is way better at this than I am, or, Ted is way better at managing inventory than I am. And so when you let that go, maybe someday I can just have somebody, come and do the YouTube channel, and then I can let that go. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I had to let things go when married my wife because she has an interior design degree, and I'm just not allowed to have any input on anything. So I've had to learn to let that go. Like even the garage, like I need to get her second opinion. Is this okay? Because she's 5'2", I'm 6'7". I don't know how high things are supposed to be hung. I don't know how like average things are supposed to be hung. So I need someone to come and do it for me. And I've had to let that go. I know it's different. That's my personal experience.
Yeah. Because the people that you found to do, with Waba with the video, and then obviously bringing on, Mike with the kind of, I call him kind of a master of construction, if you will, but he's kind of even more than that. But you found really good people to fill all these roles that, yes, you were doing at one point, but kind of have taken over, but also expanded into newfound roles that, and I guess that's kind of the first question is kind of how does that process go of finding the people? I mean, it's like some of them I knew, you knew a little bit before, and they kind of just organically transitioned into OG. But kind of the other ones, how has that been working?
I mean, one thing that's a really common phrase, I'm sure you've heard this before, is, man, I can't find any good workers. I can't find any good workers.
Sure.
And I'm convinced that this is on my business coach, and honoring the source here, he sort of taught me is that good people are not hiding. You just have to create first you have to create a good environment.
Sure.
So you have to be willing to have enough self-awareness to realize, have I created a good culture, a good environment that people would want to be a part of? Am I willing to admit when the culture goes a little awry and I need to adjust? Am I willing to do the hard things and have the hard conversations? And then for me, at same thing with customers. Had I tried to build Obsessed Garage in my town, I would have been out of business on day 2, right? Because there aren't enough people to buy $275 spray guns for a pressure washer, right?
Yeah.
And so I would have been out of business really, really quickly.
Mhm.
So the realization that I have this captive audience, what better place to ask for resumes than
Yeah.
the captive audience,
Mhm.
and create an environment that they would want to I have people from all over the country that have packed up their life and
Yeah.
moved. Texas. Tommy actually moved from Boise, Idaho. I mean, the rag
Mhm.
company missed out on that one. He was right down the street. He moved all the way to Florida.
Yeah.
Manny's from New Jersey. What else? We have people from people from all of. Mike moved from California.
Mhm.
Trevor moved from California, all the way from from North Cal all the way to Florida. So the people have kind of packed up their stuff and have moved to be part of that culture. I just had to shout it from the treetops, and so I would use wash and talks. I would use when I'm talking about tools and just explain, here's the position I'm looking
Mhm.
for. And then a lot of the folks, Tommy, Bryce, they kind of started at the bottom.
Yep.
Just show up. They were packing packing boxes, cleaning the bathroom.
Mhm.
Tommy at
How
one
many
point
employees
when
do you have?
37, 38, something like that. So I do have some local people that we found that we kind of convert to
Sure.
Obsessed,
Yeah.
but the vast majority of the people have packed up their stuff and moved from all over the country. And so the way that I found them, that process was come here. In the very beginning, it was just do whatever. Here's what I need. I need
Yep.
you to come and work in the warehouse.
Mhm.
And Tommy's probably destined to become the COO, and he started as cleaning bathrooms and packing boxes.
Mhm.
He cleaned bathrooms for like a week. He was packing boxes for a month. Next thing you know, he's written the software for our entire warehouse. Now he's building the entire website, and as I think 8 or 9 people work for him.
Nice.
And so very similar to John Green,
Mhm.
at the rag company. You start just doing whatever, and
Mhm.
you eventually have a future. And that's equally but opposite rewarding for me, but also scary, because I'm in charge of somebody's livelihood, and they're
Yeah.
moving all the way across the country. Then
Mhm.
they're not moving for the culture, they're moving for me. The culture is a
Mhm.
bonus.
Mhm.
And that's a lot of responsibility, that's a lot of weight. And so finding people, and then now what we're making the transition, when you get to about 25 people, you need to start to have some processes, like training platform. Like
Mhm.
when you hired someone in the beginning, it's just jump behind me and let's dig the ditch together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Now it's
exactly.
like I can hire someone, they get lost in the corner and everybody forgot about them,
Mhm.
And so we're just like this week I was working on our having a formal, org chart, and
Yeah.
Rusty, my COO that I hired, wrote us a handbook,
Yeah.
so that way we have, expectations, and then
Mhm.
creating, accountability structure. In the beginning, it's just row the boat as fast as possible. We've kind of reached a glass ceiling around 20 million or so. We've done that 3 consecutive years, up maybe
Mhm.
1 or 2%. And we've reached a glass ceiling because, and this is very common in companies, because me, the leader, not leading properly, because I was leading as if we had 8 people and we're doing
Sure.
5 million.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so to get to those bigger numbers, to get to 50, 60, 80, 100, 200 million, you've got to be doing it's different than what got you there. And you
Mhm.
have to make a decision. Do I even want to go there?
Yeah.
Working for such a
Exactly.
large company, I really enjoy hearing this. Like we need to
Yeah.
come up with a handbook. We need to do because
No.
all of that was already established for
You
me.
take
So
that for
hearing,
granted.
Mhm.
exactly. So
Yep.
hearing the grind of that is fascinating to me, and I'm here for that.
It's so
Mhm.
tricky because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All this stuff already exists. Somebody else has already figured it out, but you don't know how to get
Mhm.
access to it. And so you
Mhm.
have to create it, and you do it wrong, and then you fix it, and you do it a little less wrong, or a little less wrong. And
Well, don't ask me
where
for advice. I have NDAs.
well, that's the thing. Once you figure it out, you want to protect it, because it's
Exactly.
really freaking
Mhm.
hard. And
Exactly.
so I'm at this crossroads where I have to make a choice. Do I just ratchet back a little bit, or do I improve? Do I learn? Am I willing to learn? Am I willing to be coached? And so, man, if I could like go back to the 25-year-old me and explain what I was going to learn and what I know now, it's like, and a lot of the stuff that I now understand, I couldn't even explain to you. It's just, it's not something that you can't get it unless you do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's a weird place to be, and I still don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know. Does it do I get to the next level? Do I want to get, when I do get to the next level, do I want to be there? What does that look like? And all I know is that I love doing what I'm doing, and I want to do more of it. For the very first time, 2 Wednesdays ago, I was sitting at my counter saying, do I really want this? Like, I thought about ratcheting it back a little bit. That lasted about 5 minutes. I'm like, heck no, let's roll.
Yeah, and I think just the transparency is really important too. And again, it kind of segues into the next question that I kind of want to talk about is you often preach this is how you do something in your videos and just life advice in general. But then what are your thoughts with the excessive this is how to do, not just in detailing, but I guess too in business and just kind of life management, if you will. Kind of how do you look at all that now?
I never liked that. And it's funny because I get a lot of flack for this. I'm always saying, this is how I do it.
Yep.
Right? This is how I do it. You can do it however you want. I think this is the right way to do it, but this is how I do it. And here you go. And so I'm not doing a review. I'm just doing I'm just sharing. I'm just sharing, what I've figured out. I don't know if this is right. I don't know if this is wrong. I'm pretty sure it's good. This is how I do it. This is what I think is the best product. And I think people hear, maybe it's my face, but they hear something different. This is how you do it. And if you don't do it my way, you suck.
Right.
And
some of us just have those faces, Matt. We just have to own it.
And so the how to, I don't watch how to's because I'm the one. It doesn't resonate with me. I feel like the people that are making how-tos are not the right people to make them.
Sure.
My favorite how-tos are the ones that are made just like someone's got their phone. They're like, this is where the damn bolt is that you can't see. Like, those are my favorite how-tos. But the ones that are overproduced, I'm like, who made you the expert in this?
Yeah, the best how-tos are the poorly lit on the phone that's like 15 years old on YouTube but has 20 million views.
Yep. If it's a 15-year-old YouTube video about a car part that I'm trying to replace, I know that's the video I'm trying to watch.
Yeah. So that started very early on, and a lot of it I think was imposter syndrome. Like, I don't know. I had no idea. And so I had this imposter syndrome, and there was a lot of pushback in the beginning. Social media and influencing was not acceptable. It was not accepted by the high level.
You were shunned.
The high level detailers, the people that I admired, the people that I would watch or look at on the forums, the car forums and the detailing forums and stuff like that. They were not receptive to that at all, and so I'd get that stink eye when I'm walking around SEMA in 2015 for the first time.
Sure.
But then some people, and so a couple of things happened. One, I met some really great people that were very, very forward thinking. They could kind of see what was happening, and then I also met some people that kind of used and abused me. I was just happy to be there. I didn't realize I was the one with the value. I was the one with the future. I was the one that I had no idea. I was just happy to be there, and so I kind of got invited. And then when I didn't give them everything, I got a lot of curse outs.
Right.
Of always people that are a lot smaller than me, and I had to just swallow my pride and not kill them. So had I followed my gut, had I followed what I wanted to do, my reaction, I probably would be in jail right now. But several of the people that we all admire are not who I thought they were. And they used and they invited me in, and they freaking
never meet your heroes.
Yeah. Your heroes love you as long as you're giving them all the money. But when I was like, I think I want to do this on my own. What do you mean? How dare you? Like, well, what do you want me to do? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just give it to you. You don't have what I have. Like, you haven't done what I've done. You don't know what I know.
Yeah.
So you know, and so that was a real struggle in the beginning of the, and so that's why, Alex, to answer your question, that's why I think that's where this is how I do it comes from, because I felt like an imposter.
Right.
I still am an imposter, but I really like being an imposter now. I think it's fun.
I need to get to that level, like liking the imposter syndrome. Like, I need teach me your ways, Matt.
Oh, I think it's so fun, you know.
And hey, it's fun to kind of learn from your mistakes and kind of figure things out, you know, on the route, because you know, if you're not learning from your mistakes, you're not learning in general. You know?
Until you have,
I like to share my mistakes.
It's probably good to be an imposter until you have a track record. And then eventually, at some point, maybe 6-7 years in, I'm like, wow, I kind of have a track record now. And then I got a little arrogant around the track record, right? Yeah. Not with the audience or people watching, but with the, you know, with the vendors. And I'm like, well, these idiots, why won't they let me sell their stuff? Like, when I would look for a new company. Yeah. And then eventually I said, well, no, I need to leverage this track record and put myself in their shoes. How would they need this explained so they could see the track record for what it is, to get them to allow me to, like, I pitched Wolf Sub-Zero about being a Sub-Zero refrigerator dealer for the design studio, which I have no business in the appliance business, right?
Yeah. All right.
But I freaking love Sub-Zero refrigerators and Wolf ranges. And I love, and I think I can provide some real value. Go try to find like a good video on a Wolf grill. It just doesn't exist.
Yep.
It's about to in about 3 days. It's about to exist.
You could tell in your voice which topics you're passionate about and which ones you're just like it's very obvious.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. It seems like, you know, it's a fridge, right? Like, some people don't think twice about it, but
hey, we're fine. Appliances sexy. I kind of like it. You know, the older I get, you know. And I had a family member that moved into a new condo, and I think it was a Folger Milano fridge. I couldn't find I had to look up something. Something wasn't working, and I had to look up something, and I could not find a darn thing. And I'm like, this is kind of what Matt's doing, you know, not with Folger Milano specifically, but with all these products that, you know, really may not have seen the light of day without it. Like, they existed, they're always there, but it's a platform.
There's a gap in the information that I want to know, because I'm a customer, and that was from the beginning. That was Krenslow, right? That was
exactly.
And had I known, had I had a track record, I would have gotten a much better deal than what I got. You know, I'd be sitting in a much nicer house and flying to see you guys on a private jet had I known. Right. And I get really frustrated. It was like, how did I not know? Man, I got screwed. Man, you guys are screwing me. And you know, I've let that go and say, you know, how can I create a bigger problem? Because I love solving problems. How can I create a bigger problem to then go solve it? So we can talk if you want, but my international world dominance plans, you know, and how I'm going to solve that in the future, to where I don't make a market in a product and then don't get credit for it, you know. And so that's something that, you know, also gets me in trouble. I'm like, no, the short gun is me. I made that happen. Like that, I made that happen. But, oh no, you didn't. It already. You don't know the whole story. Like, I'm telling you, I wouldn't lie to you. Like, the SGS 28 is mine. I made that thing. I called them. I drew it on a napkin. I said, this is what it needs to be.
So I technically do have an OG product.
Ooh, there we go.
Yeah, the SGS 28 was the reason why that exists is Mosmatic was screwing me. You know, they kept taking the product off of the pallets. I had thousands on order, and then they would take mine and split it up and give it to CleanRight, who was selling it for like 30% less than me. And then they started divvying it up to other people. So what I wanted was, until you can fulfill my orders, stop shipping it to other people, because I lit the match. No one even knew this thing existed. And so I called MTM and I said, look, guys, I want you to we need to make an all stainless internal gun. I needed to have an integrated swivel. I wanted to have a swivel, and I needed to cost less than the Mosmatic. And so we made it, but I wasn't willing to give up Mosmatic. In order to get an exclusive deal, I had to give up Mosmatic. I said, I'm not doing that. And so then 5 minutes later, that gun was everywhere. And by the way, that is the best gun, short of the OG spec Mosmatic. The SGS 28 is the best gun that exists. The SGS or the SG 35 Aqualine is hot garbage. That should not exist. No one. The only reason anybody's selling that was because that was, Rob Bridgeforth, who is the regional sales rep. He brought that over from Italy and used that to sell against the Mosmatic. So that way, the other dealers had an option for a product to compete with the OG spec gun. But it's inferior in every way to the SGS, and it's twice as much. It's and it's hideous baby blue. It's stupid.
So I have an SGS 28. Do you agree with Jose's comment here that says if there's anything for me to buy from the OG store, it's the Mosmatic gun?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's insanely expensive. I built it what it needed to be, not to a price point. But I did make some choices to say, look, what I found with the SGS 28 is the all internal stainless internals do nothing for us. It's pretty, it's cool. I wanted it, but it was going to make that gun like $450. And so even though I made it what it needed to be, I pulled the reins back a little bit and said, all right, let's pull the reins back a little bit here and make it so that at least some people can afford it. But yeah, the swivel is like night and day different on the Suttner base. So Suttner and Mosmatic have a long-standing, like 100-year family relationship. So it's a Suttner makes the gun, the externals of it, and then Mosmatic makes the swivel and some of the internals, and so they collaborate and make that product together. It's freaking amazing. I don't know that
it's all I've ever heard. So maybe one day. My SGS is starting to squeak a little bit. The trigger's starting. It's like 4 or 5 years old. So it's time for a
pretty good life cycle for a $75 gun, $80 gun.
It's beat to hell. It did its job.
Times.
Oh, it's beat to hell. Yeah.
And so the problem with the OG spec is that you never want to like set it down. You want to like.
I've already been doing that. Like after it got damaged, I'm like, I probably should put it down a little bit more gently. That's why it looks the way it does. So I'd say for like the last couple years, I have been placing it down gently. But yeah, the first couple of years, it was just just a work tool.
Yeah.
To complete the story here, this figuring out that, man, I'm an imposter, and then figuring out, man, I have some value. Oh, now I have a track record. And then you can start to have a little bit of not arrogance, but confidence.
Yeah.
So the track record created initial, like, you guys don't get it. You don't understand. I made you. And I dropped that real fast because that doesn't get you anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And it is true. I did make some of these brands, or at least that niche that they now get to enjoy, and I didn't get most of it. The real frustrating thing was, again, the Mosmatic story. Not only was I not getting credit for it, I couldn't sell. I couldn't get it in stock. They were too busy divvying it up. Other companies, and those other companies weren't making videos and marketing. They were just selling it for less and taking the order.
Just riding the coattails.
Right. They're shipping it for free, and I wasn't. And so people were always looking for, they're always just searching what's the best price. And so my argument to them was, well, just let me do it. And so going forward now, like I'm flying to Finland to try to convince Mirka when we make the 5-inch and the 1-inch, let me sell all of it. And so I'm working to be able to deliver on that. If I'm going to commit to that, it's a big risk.
Oh, yeah.
Buy a certain amount, and then I need to be able to distribute it all over the world in order to get that exclusivity. Because just me asking exclusivity to sell on my little Obsessed Garage site, it would ruin the product's virality. The SGS 28, if only I had it, it would have, Joey would have never gotten one. Right?
Yeah,
he would have been just out of spite.
He would have been.
I bought a Husky tool chest last week out of spite.
I can't believe you fit that in the back of your Volkswagen, Joey.
Hey, I'll try anything in the back of that Volkswagen.
But people also, they don't realize, like, I had to beg those companies to even let me sell it.
Yeah.
So that's why I got in all these bad deals, was because I was just happy to be at the party.
Right.
And so I had no negotiation power at all. So still to this day, I have not negotiated with any of the vendors. And this is my big 2025 way to get the profitability is have a conversation and renegotiate my terms. It's also hard to negotiate when you're curating and you're not retailing.
Yeah.
I can't go to Koch and say, hey, I'm just selling all your product line. This is exclusively what I sell. I go to Koch, I only sell like 2 of their products or 3 of their products. And so I don't have a very strong leg to stand on other than I know it, they know it. We know that there's been a mutual benefit to us working together. So, that's going to be my argument for the cease and desist letter I just got for the first time.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how much you did not like alkaline wheel cleaner until I watched that Wash and Talk with Anthony.
What do you need alkaline wheel? If your wheels are coated, you don't need sodium thioglycolate in your freaking wheel cleaner. It makes no sense.
It's not in there, I don't think. I think it's
the alkaline.
The red one.
I'm thinking MWC.
Yeah, no, not the stinky stuff.
I just like alkaline on the tires. Man, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it'll put on a show there, but I mean, just like we said earlier about the vacuuming, like our cars are clean, right? Like so using Brake Buster, using that stuff, like there's a place for it for people like us whose cars do not get dirty. Yeah, it'll still do a good job on a dirty car.
And that's why I say, and this is where I get misunderstood, I don't give a crap about detailers. I'm not a detailer. I'm not looking for products that are to make Alex, what you explained, this expedition. I don't have cars like that. I'm not looking for products to solve that problem. That's not for me. That's for somebody else to do. So I don't give a crap about that person doing the detailing. It's not that I don't give a crap about him as a human. I just don't give a crap about that subset, that section. That's not what I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So I'm not the guy to care about that. And so I should probably say it that way, but I'm just saying I don't give a crap about detailers, and detailers like, he hates me.
Yeah.
No, I don't care about doing that type of work. And so I'm not looking for products that can do that.
I think that leads a lot of people to I call it like a collector syndrome, right? They're like, I need this product, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this, instead of I don't need that. I don't do disaster details. I don't need this. So I think that's like an epidemic. I'm guilty of it. There's stuff back here that I've been sent that I'm just like this, I'm overwhelmed by. But I think finding what works for you. Yeah, if you run a business and you need all this stuff, that's one thing. But if you're just the enthusiast, you don't need every single product. Use what works for you.
Yeah, and in the beginning, I loved the pursuit of let me get the whole catalog and try it all out, and then it was hard in the beginning, but I've always been good at purging. I have like a 2-month rule. Unless it's like a tool or something that's specialty, I have a 2-month rule. If I haven't used like a car soap in 2 months, it's gone. I got to get.
I'm getting better at it, but I'm not. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, you got to purge, especially if you don't have like this giant garage with all the storage space, and you end up cluttered, and it's just.
I'm in a one car. That's why a lot of my microfibers live indoors. The overflow.
Yeah,
it's not good for your psyche to have too much stuff.
No,
it's Rick. Rick, I saw Rick in the comments. Rick has got everything. I'm like, Rick, how do you? He's got so many products. That makes me I got like I'm ready to have a meltdown.
That's funny because like when Rick was purging, I took the box. I went up to his place and I took the box to give it to a 13-year-old detail kid that was here. And I'm like, I'm not gonna take it. I'm gonna pay it forward because I don't need this stuff. I'm gonna pass it along.
I think it's funny because a lot of aspects of my life, I like to have like a minimalist approach, right? Like my t-shirts, they're black, they're white, or they're Rag Company, right? Like that's I don't have to really think about what I'm wearing. But you would think I would apply it to something like detail products, and I'm trying to get there. Like I've realized that when my backdrop used to be.
Is it you're applying a dollar figure to what that's worth, or what do you think? What makes you hang on to stuff? Because I feel great.
I think I just don't like waste, and then I start to feel guilty about I've now accumulated all this waste, and I just have trouble with that. Like, a quick detailer, I could wipe the fridge down with it, but like I'm not gonna go through a whole bottle of detailer wiping the fridge down. So I have trouble giving things away just because I don't want to waste it. So I need to find a way.
I think what happens though, this is the frustration, especially you start to gain some hoarding tendencies and you start to over accumulate, is that, well, I don't like waste. I know how much of a pain it is to give stuff away. Like you have to work, which you shouldn't have to work to give stuff away. And then I used to have that same thing. And I finally said, you know what did it for me? I bought this one house. It was a house, Alex, the brown house, the very beginning, the very first house. And it had like a fan in every room, bathrooms. It had a fan in hallways. This lady just liked fans. She didn't like to use air conditioning, which is crazy.
Okay.
And she had fans, and these nice fans all throughout the house, probably $10,000, $15,000 worth of fans in the house. And so as I was going through the house, I'd take a fan out and I'm like, man, I can't throw this away.
It's a perfectly good fan.
Right. And then I posted on Facebook, who wants a fan? And then somebody said, oh, I want the fan. And they would like box everybody else out. I want it.
Yeah.
And then my fan, I'm like, okay, it's on the porch. Come get it. And then 6 days later, 12 days
Still
later,
there,
14 days later, the fan is still on the porch. And that person, elbowed and postured to get the darn fan when everybody else wanted the fan. And it was at that moment I broke in life. And I said, I'm just free stuff it's a freaking mess. I'm not doing it. I'm just gonna, if I don't want it and I can't sell it, I'm gonna just resign the fact, try not to waste. But you can't live life trying to give people stuff. They don't value it. This is why I got in trouble with you guys on the podcast last. That's why I was listening. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And I started just listening to the podcast, and then you guys talking about free stuff for an hour. I'm like, I had to shut it off.
Oh man,
but that's the root of like the free stuff becomes so problematic. And so then because you have that experience trying to give away your detailing chemicals, you just end up with too much stuff, and then that you walk into your space, which should be your sanctuary,
it's overwhelming,
and it's just crowded and crushes you. Like
it's a weekly thing. I stand there and I go, which soap am I using today? I got like 36 different 16-ounce bottles of soap. I don't need that. But I'm also like, people were nice enough to send me this, and I also have that, that kind of stabbing at me, like, oh, I feel bad. They mailed it to me. I'm gonna throw it out. So I don't know. It's a me problem.
So the problem is that if you had two T-shirts, a black one and a white one, like you just explained, one of them you paid for, one of them you got for free. I guarantee you like the black one that you paid for more than the one you got for free. Unless it was some mentor or some like band that gave it to you. Like there was some nostalgia attached to it, but it was somebody else's junk and you took it and you just don't value it the same. I'm not saying that no one values anything for free, but it's never going to be valued as if you worked for it. You got all this free stuff, but you didn't get anything for free, Joey and Alex. It's not free. You're working.
No, it stressed me out. It brought stress into my
life. Because there's an expectation there, right? There's if you do truly get something for free, you don't value it as much as if you worked for it. And if you do get it for free, chances are there's an expectation that has an associated weight to it.
If someone gave me a Diet Dr. Pepper for free, that might be the one thing I do value. Oh, we love pets on the show.
Heck yeah.
Boy. Chasey, come on, buddy. Come on up.
Oops.
Golden Doodle.
I got Ryan. I had a free steak recently. It was quite good. we wouldn't know. I mean,
Ryan values that free steak he had.
Yeah, that 2 first name steakhouse.
He won't step on the glass thing. There he is. Chasey, over here.
I do love how Chase lays in the videos, just fully elongated, legs out.
He's
just living the life.
Mini F1B Golden Doodle. I will never get a dog ever. And 2000 or 2020, March of 2020, COVID's, the world's ending. This is like 14 days to stop
get a dog.
Bread. And I said to Michelle, I was like, do whatever you want. She had this freaking dog in like 12 hours. She's like, I'm gonna seize this opportunity.
Yeah.
And now he's freaking my dog. I don't know how this happens.
Today's the first birthday without my dog. It's his birthday today, since he passed, and seeing everyone else's pets have cheered me up. Have cheered me up today. But we got a kitten in. It was October. My wife was just going to the shelter, and she was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go look because it's kind of quiet in the house, not having any pets." And yep, came home with a kitten. That did not expect that. So
yep,
I know what that's like.
Well, I remember, Matt, when you got the cats out of necessity after the mouse got the wiring harness, and then
oh, that's funny.
The cats took over. Yep.
Yeah, we got
that's going back.
I lived in the darn woods, and we kept getting my rodent ate. It was like $19,000. Ate the main harness on my GT3.
Oh.
Yeah, and so because they use like soy-based, oils to treat, to keep the corrosion down and to make the harness more pliable, and so they're attracted to it, and they get in there and start gnawing. And of course, they don't gnaw in the middle of the harness; they gnaw like where it makes a transition in the body.
Yep.
And like,
yep. I'm trying to train the kitten when she runs out into the garage to not go near the tender wires. Like I don't want her chewing through the battery tender.
So we got some outdoor cats, and they just nuked that place. And it was great. There wasn't a squirrel to be found. Nothing.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
That's awesome. Love it. That's awesome.
That cat. So that cat went with us to 3 different houses. The cat lives at my original house. She left us and is with the new owners.
Nice.
Oh wow.
So we took her. So we moved maybe 5 miles away. She stayed with us there. Yeah. And then we moved to the next house, which was like a mile away. And so when we moved to that new house, she just went back to the old house. And my friends who bought that house from us say, we come down, get the cat. And then eventually we just said, she wants to be there. Do you want to keep her? And so now the cat lives with the old owners. She drops things off on the front porch all the time, just nuking all kinds of animals. Yeah. Great.
It's a condition of the sale now.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask this question that Alex brought up. It says, with your family being primary OG employees, what's their journey been like? So I didn't know that your family was involved.
Yeah, so my parents, we grew up in my parents were in their teens, when they had me, and they high school education. My mom cleaned houses, and my dad was a printing press operator, so they made business cards, letterhead. He eventually kind of worked his way up to plant manager, but they were very very frugal, very smart, not frugal, but very smart with their money. And so we lived in a single wide trailer until I was 13. So I was born in 1980 until 93.
Pennsylvania, right?
Correct, in Pittsburgh, okay. just north of Pittsburgh, and southern Butler
That's where
County.
My wife is. My wife's from State College, and then college went to. She was in Pittsburgh for college.
Yeah, gotcha. She went to Pitt or Duquesne, maybe.
She was Academy of Art for interior.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
yeah.
So we moved to the Poconos, northeastern Pennsylvania, so past State College, not all the way to Jersey. And so I went to high school there. And so my dad had gotten, the company went out of business. My dad had gotten promoted, and so then he got headhunted to go. We moved to Hazleton, where there was a new company that had acquired the old company, and so we moved there, and then we got our, my parents got their first house, so we sold the trailer. They sold the trailer in 93 for $9,000. And I'll never forget them sitting at our kitchen table, and single wide trailer. And it was literally on wheels, right? We had skirting on the side, and the mom of the new young couple that were buying they were counting the $9,000 cash on the table, and I'm sitting there as a 13-year-old kind of observing, watching this transaction happen. But my parents had saved enough money to put half down on a $100,000 house, which is wild to see.
Yeah.
And so, but I was always I was an old soul, so as a 13, 14, 15-year-old, I was pretty mature. And so when we moved, when I went to college, so I went to Villanova, which I had no business going to. It was $34,000 a year in 98. So they didn't have the money to fund the whole thing. They paid
Mhm.
$5,000 or $6,000 a year, kind of
Mhm.
to the part that I couldn't borrow, and I borrowed the rest. And so I went off and kind of did my thing in career. And so eventually my dad's business, the printing business, kind of went away.
Right.
And so they were established in that town, Tamaqua, right north of Hazleton. And we they were just kind of, my mom was still cleaning houses, tending bar, and my dad was just kind of doing some odd jobs. And so I had asked them to ship my t-shirts when I started launching, when I put my t-shirts up at the end of 2016. And then it was, pressure washer fittings, and then it was Rag Company microfiber towels. And so my old bedroom, they had an 1,800 square foot house, 3 stories, so they're carrying up this chalet, carrying stuff up and down the stairs. The straw that broke the camel's back was 2 things. It was pressure washer hoses, because they had a gravel driveway. And so an 18-wheeler would come through this little neighborhood and drop off a gaylord of hoses. And my 60-year-old dad's carrying these hoses one at a time.
Oh, man.
And then I sent them NextZet Color Tech, which was a sodium thioglycolate wheel cleaner, which smells terrible. And so it stunk up their whole house.
Oh no.
And then we're like, we need to figure out a way for them to get down here full time. So I was in wealth management, so I had a stable job, and they were going to quit their jobs and come down and do this. Chase,
there it goes. Bye, Chase.
So I convinced them, said, look, they're not risk takers.
Sure.
My mom, stop cleaning houses, come down here and help me do this, pack the boxes, build the warehouse. My dad did all the inventory management. And so they packed their stuff. I got fired like the week that their home sold in Pennsylvania.
Oh.
I didn't tell them.
Right.
Until my dad and I were in the U-Haul driving down. Right.
I
said, by the way, I'm fully committed to this. I lost my, my cash cow. I mean, I was making lots of money. And so they're like, well, I guess we're going to do this. That was the big risk of their life. And so now my dad runs all the manufacturing. My mom runs the warehouse. And they'll do it. So they're only, they're 20 years older than me, say roughly. And so, I'm 45. And so my parents are, in their early 60s. And so I can't see them ever quitting, but they're like the freaking psychopaths. Like they work, they meal prep, and that's it, and they freaking love it. And so it's a really unique situation, because oftentimes you can't work for your son.
Yeah.
Right. You could work for your parents, and even then it's contentious.
Yeah.
So it's just the right personality sets. Yeah. The right personality subset to, and then, my mom has the same OCD, same crushing, OCD that I have. So she struggles with that as well.
Sure.
And then my dad is a freaking saint dealing with us, so.
Does she apply that to the keeping a tight ship in the warehouse?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Like, she cleans the floors and desk, and she's so like we had the nicest trailer, in the trailer park, everything. She would literally, like, I didn't know how to do laundry when I went to college. I would literally walk in the house, socks off, shorts off, shirt off, in the laundry before we even went in the house. There was no going outside and coming back in. You go outside, you stay outside until you're ready to come in and strip down and get your clothes clean. And so that's
it was a decon process for you.
Yeah. At the door decon.
And so I didn't cut grass. I didn't wash a dish. I didn't do anything for the household. But I did cut other people's grass. I did, so that work ethic, that modeling. I was a janitor, when I turned 15, I became a janitor. And so I was cleaning the bathrooms at our clubhouse and the community, and then, doing all the trash pickup and cleaning the bird crap off the beach, and, doing those sort of jobs. And I became a Walmart cart pusher. And so I understand like real work, and they modeled that. And so it's great that, I pay them more than they've ever made. And then I'll get all that money back because they save every nickel of it. So
Right.
my problem is I got to split it with my freaking sister. I'm gonna have to figure something out.
Oh, geez.
I mean, that's a good feeling, though.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
a
So
nice
my parents are have been a major contributor to this, and they just do whatever because they know that I'm like the golden child of I was born with some super processing brain, and so they I'm going to go to Villanova, I'm going to get the engineering degree, I'm going to get the big job at Merrill Lynch, and I'm going to do something with my life. And so they just kind of jumped on the ride and have followed me to the darn promised land. So
yeah.
So what my plan is?
It's refreshing to hear a family story that actually works out well. Like you watch all these like kitchen nightmares, and you got families running restaurants together, ready to kill each other. Like
they do refreshing. A good job. They do a good job of deferring to me. Right. They don't provide feedback unless asked.
Okay.
Part of that is that they conditioned. Part of my imposter syndrome is that conditioning is your place. When I was a kid, my mom there's two families she cleaned. One owned a business and the other was a doctor. And so on Tuesday, Thursday, we'd go to Dr. Filer's, and he was chief of staff of the hospital, so extremely affluent. And we were taught to be on our best behavior. We worked for them. But I would go in the summer. We would go on Tuesday, Thursday to the Filer's. Monday, Wednesday, Friday to the Woolies. The Woolies owned the Woolies Fish Market. And so Woolies had three boys that were terrorists, right? So I'll never forget. My mom was like, she sat us down, me and my sister, and read us the riot act that these boys are very proper. Boy. They say, yes, ma'am. They don't say, oh my gosh. They say, oh my word. Their parents are very strict. Okay. The very first day, Bo is holding Luke down, and Lenny's hitting Luke in the ankle with the end of a screwdriver and calling it an ankle
oh
buster,
my goodness,
calling him an effing R word, So these are but we were taught and conditioned to this is what you do, and this is your place. And so I still have a lot of that with that obligation of your place in life,
right?
And so that conditioning, that work ethic conditioned to me to bring my parents in and let them, they've never taken a frickin' vacation day. My dad is at OGHQ 7 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Every single day. Now, Saturdays and Sundays, just kind of his time to get away and kind of piddle.
Yeah.
He's working, doing something.
Yeah.
And so, I couldn't afford to pay them what they would be worth as far as workers are concerned. Man, I wish I had them when they were in their 30s, man. It would have been freaking crazy.
Love that.
Should we get some of these questions from the chat in here instead of us hogging all of Matt's time? There's a lot of good ones. I grabbed a couple that didn't show up in the chat, but they were in here earlier. And one of them's from David Boyce. He says, Matt, can you talk about the harm done to a car's engine if not driven for, say, 1 month? I remember about a year ago, you drove your Evo daily. Also, it's good to see you laughing.
Thanks, man. Well, I just experienced this with my E92 M3, and the plugs fouled from bad, gas, or they're just sitting too long. Cars get melty if you don't frickin' drive them. It's part of yes, you're putting miles and wear and tear and rock chips and road rash and all that kind of stuff, but there's an equal but opposite problem. I would argue you can store it well. Like my Evo that I bought was an 05 Evo. It had 1,200 miles on it or something like that. We just had to change the belts and change the fluids, and it had original tires, original battery, so the battery didn't work, and so you can always bring it back to life. It's just what you don't want to do is let it sit for 3 years and then think you're going to fire it up and go for a rip. You would have to do like a full service. You'd have to do a significant service.
We let the Mini sit at the beginning of COVID for like 3 months, and that was enough for there were spider webs, and it was
things you could do is get the tires off the ground, but then you want to then you're unloading the suspension, which has problems. So then do you overflow or overfill the tires? So you put a higher pressure in them, so less flat spot. Put flat spot preventers down. Obviously fuel stabilizer, or just get the fuel out of the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Change the oil every, couple of years regardless. Put the battery on a tender. One of the biggest things that helps me, because I have more cars than I can drive and often, is to lithium ion batteries now. Makes a big difference. Because even if you do tender, especially Alex, where you're at, where it's really cold,
Yeah.
even if you do maintain a battery, you can end up with all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
For you guys, you need block heaters and stuff like that.
Yep.
Keep the oil from coagulating and freezing and changing state. But there's things you can do, but the smartest thing to do, get the car up to temp, even if you just drive it around the block and then put it back. My E92 M3 I bought, so it was a 2013. I bought it 2 years ago. It had 800 miles on it. An engineer had owned it, and even though he only put 800 miles on it, he had a very specific procedure. He would start it, get it to temp, drive it a certain few hundred yards or whatever, or maybe a few miles, put it away, and he did that on a regimented schedule. So
these are the people you want to buy vehicles from.
Yeah. Now I had to pay, an insane amount of money for that, double the original sticker price of the car.
Oh, jeez.
But that, now that car's probably worth 200 grand. So I paid 120 for an E92 M3 because I wanted the absurdity of, I got to relive the experience of basically a brand new car.
Yeah, absolutely.
It had 800 miles on it. And then, I got in a little bit of trouble because I let it sit while I was moving too long. And I went a little too far. I bought coil packs. I bought injectors. I bought plugs, and I wanted to get the fuel out. All I needed to do was replace the plugs. That was it. And I'm tearing the whole car apart trying to get the fuel out of it, not realizing it has a 3-phase pump, and so I can't hot wire the pump.
Oh,
there's
man.
no relay. There's no relay for the fuel pump. And so then I took the back seat out and took the fuel pump out, and I'm pumping it out of the gas tank. And then it wasn't, the fuel was fine. So then I dumped the fuel in the Raptor and changed all I needed to do was change the darn spark plugs, and it was fine. So lesson learned. Do the simplest thing first.
Yep.
But I was deathly afraid of putting these new $200 plugs in and then fouling the new plugs.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But I didn't, and I got a little bit of gas out of it, but then I didn't trust it. And so I had to get all the gas out of it. And so then I just returned, $3,000 worth of coil packs and injectors, because I didn't need that. And I was telling myself, let me just do it all. I'll just do the coil packs. I'll do the injectors. I'll make sure it's all good.
Peace of mind.
My buddy talked me into, let's just start it up. Let's see what happens. And I purred like a freaking kitten with $200 spark plugs. That was it.
Yeah. Simple is best sometimes. Simple is best.
But storing cars, having too many cars is, there's another problem to that. And then having a $200,000 unicorn M3 makes you not want to drive it either. And so again, people don't understand, why don't you just drive it?
There's more to that.
I mean,
there's layers to that.
Take yourself out of the trailer park, get your dream car. My other cars are better than that car. So but imagine driving an irreplaceable car that's it's insured for $50 grand.
No, that's fair.
And so it's hard unless you've been there, unless you have experience. It's kind of hard to have an opinion on that kind of thing. So long answer to a short question.
We have another one from David Boyce that says, "Hey Matt, did you order the custom golf cart from Idaho?"
So I found out, the golf carts are tricky because they're all junk. Every single one of them. Club car, Easy Go, they're all junk. Some have some American parts, but that company in Idaho is called it's a Mammoth cart. And so what happens is there's this 2 or 3 kind of like pressure washers. There's 2 Chinese providers of all the base parts of a golf cart.
Sure.
And so then they give you your own brand, right? And so Sunjo, Stanley, AR, these are all made in the same place, and they just put different plastic on it. And so all these carts have basically the same guts. And it's not that it's bad. In the world of golf carts, a club car drivetrain is probably a little bit better. But I discovered that there's 50 different iterations of those, Boise golf carts. And so the suspension, they're like off the shelf parts.
Sure.
But then they put it together. It's probably like $4,000 or $5,000 cost, and they're selling them for 15, 16, which I'm okay with. But I'm okay with company making money. But now I'm kind of, I don't know. Do I want some Chinese kit car? Is kind of what you get.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
But club cars, they don't have independent front and rear suspension, and the Chinese one does. The club car has a janky American like display. Easy Go has like a terrible seating position. So the quote unquote quality ones are kind of junk. And so now I'm not sure what to do. Yeah. This is what happens to me. I don't want a golf cart.
Yeah.
But my family wants a golf cart. It's just like a dog. I don't want a dog, but we're gonna get a dog. Let's get the best dog. Right?
Yeah, now you're determined.
Yeah, exactly.
So we got this bougie, made in a lab, F1 golden doodle. That sucker was like $3,800 or something like that. You get that dog. Like, but we're gonna get a dog. Let's get like the
dog.
Yeah. If I'm gonna get a golf cart, let's get that golf cart.
Yeah.
And as you find out, what's behind the curtain, it's like, is that really the golf cart?
Yeah, I remember reading some of the comments from that video. There was a lot of the golf cart, because obviously I know nothing about the golf carts. It's the odd time when I go golfing and have a cart, it's what's there. I'm not gonna really dig into it too much. But yeah, no, you're right. But also I think I can understand the family peer pressure of having a golf cart in a community like that is very appropriate for it.
Bruce says that the OG wall mount and hose reel for my pressure washer setup was the best thing I've done. 0 friction to wash cars. I've got some more praise from the details guys. The small pleasures within process and experience means a lot when you do this day to day. Matt gets it.
Yeah.
That's the thing is when you're doing something day to day, whether it's during my day job or when I'm detailing a car, that whatever like makes that easier and more of a pleasure to do. Like, why wouldn't you want to do that?
I mean, the people that should be the most pursuing this the most would be the practitioner, the detailer, right? Now, I understand when you're starting out and you're charging $200 for full correction coating, you aren't buying the dual Krenzel setup.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not buying that, but that should be the pursuit. I'd argue most detailers that I've gone, to or have seen or visited, their wash process is not dialed. And that's the part the customer sees of any of the process. That's the one part the customer is going to be hanging around waiting for their Uber to come while you start deconning the car. I mean, I would want everything, every little detail as a detailer is a microcosm of, I think, your ability. And so, like if you're mobile and you got a crappy van, if you don't have like a raw level detail van, then I mean, and you can't get that day one. But if you're driving around your mom's Camry and you open the trunk up, and you only have a Ryobi, but I'm going to be wiping that Ryobi down with OG drying aid after every use. And, I'm going to be keeping my stuff looking the part.
Shit, I keep my bucket labels facing the street so people know that they're not just like Home Depot buckets when I'm out there, there's pride there.
Yeah, pride of ownership, pride in process I think there's a point where it doesn't return as much, because you could be a disheveled savant and be like the best paint corrector in the world, and eventually people are going to figure out your talent. But if apples to apples, you're comparing, one guy to the next, and especially if you're pursuing the affluent client, give yourself as much of an edge as possible and pursue that excellent experience for you, and then you can market that, and I think you can pass off that cost to a customer. But you got to think like a businessman, not like a service provider.
Yeah.
X6M Go says, Matt, are you happy with the Detail Factory OG tire applicator brush? Are there changes that you want to make to it?
So here's the story of the detail of the brush. So Nick made that. So Nick is one of my products guys, right?
Sure.
So he's the one who takes all the photos for the website. And so they'd heard me say, how much I love using the interior brush, like the curveball, using an interior brush for tire dressing application, even though it kind of we thought it would ruin it, but I can't kill those darn things, you know. So I thought the softer bristles, synthetic bristles, would be a problem. So Nick made it, and it was already done. And then I got it, and I'm like, these are too long. And so I had to commit to buying like 5,000 of them, and then had to teach people, like, you know, you have to hold the bristles, because they kind of, it works great on a bigger
so that's
tire.
where that came from.
On a tight one, you have to have to tighten it up. And I think that's the key difference. Is I'm going to tell you the truth. You know, I'm stuck with these things. It's the best I got. I can't buy one with shorter bristles until I sell these. And it's the best that I think exists for this application. And I want to make improvements. You know, Apple, we know that the M4 MacBook Pro is not going to be as good as the M5. You know it.
Yeah.
We know we go into it, and I'm going to spend $6,000 on a fully loaded, you know, laptop.
Yeah. And Matt, I can save you some cash there.
I don't want anything for free, John.
No, I trust me, it's not for free.
I've got a, you know, M4, you know, iMac or Mac Mini, you know, running this on a
nice.
I'm on an Apple ProRes Pro XDR, nano texture glass, and then I'm on continuity cam with my iPhone 15.
Yeah, I do the continuity cam for the camera. It's like a no-brainer. It looks amazing. But I'm on a $400 LG monitor provided by work.
Yeah, I've got the $1,000 stand. You know, this was
stand.
A big,
oh yeah.
Large,
well, I mean, you have. I mean, if you're spending the price of the
hold
monitor, why not get the $1,000 foot for it?
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got Ryan says Mike F is my unofficial dad. He's taught me so much.
I certainly love the because my dad was in construction for a long time, and just seeing kind of Mike's attention to detail is pretty special. And
Mike knows all the trades, right? So Mike can do everything, right? Which is his savantness, right? And so he has this savant ability to just see and do. Like, Mike could change the rod bearings in your E92 M3, having not even know how to do it. He'll look at like one article, and then he'll just know how to do it. He just has that innate mechanical ability, but also has the artistic ability to do like float drywall, you know. And so out of necessity, you know, there is a podcast where Mike tells a story, but out of necessity, Mike got a divorce, and he had 3 kids, and he was Mr. Mom. You know, she kind of wigged out and kind of left him hang high and dry.
Sure. And
so here he has this big job where he's doing commercial electrical work, welding. So he's running he's maintenance supervisor for this insane facility. And then on the side, in order to make ends meet, because he had to pay a bunch of alimony, he had to go out and do contracting as well.
Yeah.
And then his dad built pools, so he knows how to build pools. So he knows how to do everything from an innate ability combined with a lot of trial and error and experience.
I've always been jealous of those people. Like, growing up, I was like, why am I not this person? Not realizing that, like, this is a specific thing that certain people just like you said, have that innate ability to do. But I would be chasing it for, I'd be like, why am I 18 and don't know how to put up drywall? It's like things like that. Like, but yeah, once you realize that there's different people out there, it changes it. But
so what Mike did is he like reached out to me, sent me a photo when I'd come out with a sweatshirt that I didn't know was a blatant IP theft. Grant Cardone has a saying, "Be obsessed or be average," but I didn't know he had the saying. And so I said this, for a while, I was like, "Be obsessed or be average" was the tagline. And so that was a tagline I was using. And so then
that's how you get those letters in the mail.
I was making a t-shirt. And so, and I had this guy from church who was helping me, Josh, and Josh kind of put it up there in the Facebook group. Hey, can somebody help me make a logo for Be Obsessed, Be Average? And so somebody just Google search Be Obsessed, Be Average and sent us Grant Cardone's logo.
Oh,
that logo is great. We thought somebody designed it and sent it to
us.
No. He just screen captured it.
Oh,
and
no.
Josh didn't know any better.
Oh, no.
And then Josh just put it on the darn sweatshirt, and I printed, several hundred of them. And so anyway, Mike had sent a photo of him, his daughter, and his son, Trevor, and it works for me, all with the Be Obsessed, Be Average shirt on. And then, he just basically said, "Hey, I can do anything. If you ever need any help, let me know." And next thing you know, Mike's flying on a plane on his own dime to come help me build my warehouse and do Prevost piping. And then we did Ed Bullion's garage, Vinwiki, and he wasn't working for me. I wasn't paying him anything. He's just on his own dime flying out and helping me. I said, someday I'm going to hire you. And then when I was ready and I called him, I said, let's do this. And then he told me how much money he makes. I'm like, oh crap, I don't think I can do that. And then I figured out a way to pay him that. And so the rest is history.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
Joel says, Matt, what's one thing within OG you're most proud of?
Good question. A hard question.
Yeah. I want to say it's the people, but that's not true. I love the stuff. I love the products. I think I'm most proud of when I see an obsessed garage design.
Right.
And I see a 3D render of those 5,000 things that I've at one point was the thing I was most obsessed with. And the summation of those 5,000 things that go together to make a rather simple looking garage.
Yeah.
But so when I see a design of that, that's the culmination of all of the stuff that I've been chasing, all of the personal growth of having to learn how to lead, having to, the times I told you I had to promote myself and lay on the couch feeling sorry for myself or getting fired. In the beginning of doing this, everybody told me no. My wife, her parents, family, friends, Merrill Lynch, my partner, my business partners in Merrill Lynch, just so much resistance. The vendors, everybody tells you no.
Right.
You're on to no. This is stupid. You can't make hour-long videos. No one's going to watch that. It doesn't work. Even YouTube, I had to get special permission to make a video over 15 minutes.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yep, I remember that.
You had to submit an application of why you needed to make videos longer. And they were trying to protect bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
So all those no's, and when I see that render of an amazing garage, it kind of fires me up,
Yep. I also love the showcase after the fact on Instagram and Facebook when you guys share the customers that are going through that process and you guys share the work that you guys do. And it's, and by no means a brag. I'm like, hey, look at what this has all become and what other people are able to get and what we can provide to anyone that's willing to get
and
it.
when you see it,
yeah,
it's funny. The naysayers, they see it's like, that's freaking easy. Well, because you just saw it. It didn't exist. Now when you see it, it's like, oh, that's pretty easy. Why didn't somebody else do that?
Yeah.
And so that that it's taken me a long time again to not get that insecure gut reaction. Screw you. You don't know any better. Now I know. I believe it. I own it. I'm proud of it. I'm not, there's no arrogance around it. It's just, this is freaking cool. I'm flying to Cincinnati to do, one of those renders. Alex, you see the red garage they posted with the red. So we're going up to actually bring that garage to reality and shoot a whole series of, Jonathan's garage. It's going to be really sick.
Yeah. I love design coming to fruition. It's such a rewarding
it's very
experience.
satisfying. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And
I
so
can't
when
wait to have you do my garage. It's one car. It'll probably take you, 30 minutes. So you love it.
It's like an express update.
Exactly.
I think this is the last garage that's not mine that we'll be able to do.
Yeah.
Just the bandwidth and we're going to be building the local design studio and providing this as a service.
Yeah.
And so that'll become my content resource. I just think about things so much differently. I'm going to build like a brick and mortar retail store with like trucks, like service related, like HVAC type service related business. We go around and install switch tracks and sonic cabinets. But the main purpose of doing that is to be able to capture the content locally at scale. And so we're going to create the Obsessed Garage Builds channel because I'm at such a disadvantage doing the way I do it. So Obsessed Garage is really Matt Moreman, right?
Right.
And so in order to reach broad appeal and to go to the next level, my next no that the world is telling me is no, you can't do it. No, is the next no is to figure out a way to create a broad appeal channel. And I think the garage is the star of that.
Yeah.
And so we're going to create Obsessed Garage builds and then do these transformative things where we tell the story. Much like, I don't know if you guys follow Matt Armstrong and Tavares. Have you seen their stuff? Like they get massive broad appeal because, and Tavares, they'll make a video like once a month.
Yeah.
You know, and just get massive engagement. So Freddie's a good friend of mine. And so he's sort of taught me a lot about that engagement. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater because Obsessed Garage is my, that doing it my way is the way to go. For me.
Do you plan on being involved in any of the content, or?
Yeah, I certainly will be.
Okay.
But the star is not me. The star is the garage. And then I'm not going to be sprinkling in a mountain biking day. I'm coding out or making a video on, I don't know, my computer, my desk setup. That throws now with AI and crawling, it throws the algorithm off so far.
Yeah.
That my channel is going to die if I don't adapt, to the next stage. But I don't want to contrive anything. And so the storytelling will be, the story of authenticity, the story of what we do and what we provide, the story of obsession, is what we're going to be sharing. Yeah. And because we're going to be doing hundreds of garages a month right here locally, we'll be able to pick and choose which ones that we showcase.
Yeah.
And just imagine.
It's going to be the Villages sponsored by Obsessed Garage one day. Like your logo is going to be right there with it.
I do think it's going to be something pretty remarkable. I have all the right relationships as well, and partners in this. And then the main goal of this is not money. The main goal for me is the ability to create the content and to become to garner some influence and some give back to the community, in a profitable sense. Like, it's not charitable here. This is a profitable sense.
Nobody values free shit.
I don't think so. And so the concept would be to contribute to the local economy, and then also gain access to my employees for the charter school system that's here. So that's the main result I'm leading with, and then I think because that's the main result, the actual result will be extreme profitability and lots of success, and then the potential to possibly sell that business someday. Adam Patali's a good friend of mine, and so he's always been very candid about what it's like to sell, and in some instances he probably wish he didn't do it, and so what I'm looking to build is a wholesale and product representation firm, and then to help take companies into the modern age of marketing and not have like regional sales reps and this bull crap, and then create a wholesale business, wholesale distribution business internationally, which will be a saleable business someday. So I could sell that. I could sell Destination OG. I could sell the Villages design studio, but keep Obsessed Garage. Because if you gave me $100 million, I would try to make Obsessed Garage.
Right.
I would take the money and I would try to go make Obsessed Garage with it. So why wouldn't I just keep Obsessed Garage?
Sure.
And so
speaking of international, Rick wants to know how OG Canada is doing.
So we're live with portable pressure washers. We need to just take something simple.
Yeah.
Like we pulled like 3,
Nice.
just to make it, because I didn't want to kill my friends at Mantis Tool Grid. And so now the goal is we're building a timeline. I have an 18-month timeline to have the entire Obsessed Garage catalog shipped out of Toronto, is the goal. We'll also be partnering on a lot of OG specific products with our friends at Carzilla, at TOC, at CAE, and in Quebec. And so like having OG spec gun, having our shelving, having things that I have exclusivity on, the future Mirka 5-inch polisher, working with retail as well, having it available on Amazon. That's a big shift for me. Is that having obsessedgarage.com or .ca available with the entire catalog, as well as having retail partners throughout North America to help represent the product. That's my solve to the complaining about I should be on a jet. And so the solve also, I partner with the Rag Company to help take products to Amazon. specifically.
I bought one.
So
I was hoping to get it in time.
If you bought something from me in Florida, you get it in like 7 days,
Right.
Yeah. So I wanted to be able to have drying aid in time to potentially praise it or talk smack about it, but it hasn't arrived yet. But it's out for delivery right now. I couldn't have done that if I ordered.
We do have
directly.
it available on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And so the problem is that Amazon takes, like, if I have like 50% margin, Amazon takes like 35% of that. And so you end up with a 15% margin, and if I drive everybody to buy it on Amazon only, I'm freaking screwed. And so we sell it for like $6 more on Amazon to help offset the Amazon cost.
I paid more for it.
Yeah. Well, it ends up net because you would have had to pay shipping, So that's how we make it work. And then the Amazon play is to take some of these great products and find new customers, find customers we wouldn't have otherwise.
So did I honor the source by getting it from Amazon or no?
Yeah.
Is it like half? Okay.
Yep.
David says, how bad was the TRCMA steak that you kept eating? Had to be at least acceptable.
Oh,
well, it was a good base steak, right? It was a Snake River Farms, it was like a $30 steak, so it was a good base starting point.
It's exactly how much it was.
And so, we were off to a good start, and so
and then we had Gabe's grill.
Yeah. So we didn't get to sear
Gabe didn't even clean it before.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't clean. I don't ever clean a grill.
I mean, he had like 3 feet of ash in the bottom. Come on.
and that's when I screwed it up with the frickin' asparagus. I felt like a doofus in front of thousands of people online, but hey, such is life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hadn't eaten in 2020. It was like 30 hours, right?
Yeah.
So I was eating something.
Once that rosemary hit your lips, you were like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
Mikey says, Matt, what are some life lessons you've learned that may be controversial, like free stuff?
Man, I mean, I've got
you can keep it to one just to.
Yeah, I got a billion of them. So let's see. Let's think about something controversial. Let's come back to that. Maybe.
Okay. We can throw that on the back burner. Ryan says, did your mom have a part in the way OG packs orders? Because the packing's pretty great.
Yeah, 100%. She did 100% of it. So I had no say in any of it from the very beginning. Because in the beginning, they were packing in Pennsylvania and I was in Florida. So I had no idea,
They couldn't oversee it. Yeah.
Correct. She just made that choice. And we're going to level up here soon because I'm about to renegotiate on our boxes and packaging material and all that stuff. So we got to get a conveyor and, really, improve efficiency on our next level. So, I mean, it's really the customer experience, like beginning to end, like the packaging, like the opening of that box, at least to me is important. Like I get excited to open up a box and see what's going on inside. And when shit's just thrown in there, like, I'm like, okay, they don't care. Well, ours is very utilitarian. It would be really awesome to eventually someday, make that decision on certain products to have an Apple-like experience of unboxing. But at this point, I'm already at such a premium and it's at such a disadvantage because I'm not making most of my own stuff. And so we've chosen the utilitarian, but very well done utilitarian route. So you don't have this like amazing experience, but you don't have a bad experience because everything is like, I don't want my Armor Detail Supply, nice foil labels to get all scratched up.
Yeah.
So we bubble wrap each bottle, so that way it's done well. And, like Mike's saying, or Ryan's saying, the packaging tape is good, and so we're making those decisions, and then someday maybe we'll have a really pretty box or this great experience. But I don't think putting candy and tchotchkes, free stuff.
Shots fired.
You're just gonna throw it away. You're just gonna throw it away.
No hand signed thank you notes. But
I don't know, that candy sketches me out. I feel like, what if they've injected it with heroin or something?
Oh,
how long?
You're one of those. You're one of those Halloween parents. Those drugs are expensive. No one's giving them out for free, Matt.
Yeah.
Well, you have to remember, if somebody sees my name and they're going to rub it on their balls or something and put it in the
That's true. I forgot.
Oh, true. How true.
When I order from Detailed Image, as soon as you see Matt Moreman, I mean, they know. They have to know.
You got to get a better. You got to get a better alias.
Right.
Yeah. Like
Steve
the giveaway
says,
winner, Matthew Mortman or whatever.
Matthew Mortman. That's right.
Yeah.
What was the gate that let you transition from engineering to finance?
So when I was in college, I don't know if you, Alex may know this story, but Joe, you probably don't know. When I was in college, I was studying electrical engineering, and I flunked Fundamentals of Electrical Engineering 1. So that's your sophomore year when you don't get to declare your major in like junior year when you're an engineer. You declare it like the first week of freshman year, and you're taking 18 to 22 credit hours. You're taking 3-hour labs, but you only get 1 credit hour for it. So you're really taking a course load of like 25 credit hours. So when I flunked the course and I'm at Villanova, there's no like 50-year option for me, right? It's like I'm borrowing every penny to like survive here. And so I needed to take a summer course, and I needed to get a job to pay for that summer course.
Sure.
And so between junior and senior year, to get back on track, I had to take Fundamentals of Electrical Engineering 2 during the summer so I could stay on track with my course load. And so I went and applied to Bally Total Fitness. I applied to the 3 places that I was kind of interested in, passionate about. There's a general theme in my life. And so I applied to Bally Total Fitness because I was super into working out. I applied to Tower Records because I love music and movies. And I applied, which was kind of a joke, I applied to Bryn Mawr Stereo. So it was a really high-end stereo shop. And so I made my resume, and I left my GPA off because it was terrible. But I was like, an electrical engineering student, Villanova University, like immediately made me smarter than pretty much any other applicant they're going to have at these 3 places. So I got hired at all 3.
Oh, wow.
But the last one, it's so funny because my friend's 2 years younger than me. He had a job at Bryn Mawr Stereo, and he was this savant, this brilliant human. I handed him my resume, and he just scoffed, like, "Who's this freaking douchebag?" And so he became like one of my best friends in the world. And so I got a call from that stereo shop from the manager. I said, "Look, I'm sorry, I took the job at Bally Total Fitness. I declined Tower Records. I'm going to do that." And he said, "No, just come in and hear me out before you take that job."
Sure.
I came in, and he sat me down with the car stereo manager, and he said, what do you know about car stereos? He kind of handed me the catalog, and I knew everything because I wanted to buy it all.
Yeah.
I was like, "Look, I don't really know but I was honest. I don't really know Alpine very much because my stereo shop in town didn't have Alpine, but I knew Eclipse, and I knew Extant, and I knew I knew all the details, JL Audio. I knew all the details of all the stuff enough to be selling that day." So they said, "Okay, what we want you to do, tell Bally you're not coming there. We're going to pay you $10 an hour. You're going to come in, and you're going to be the stock guy, and then part-time car stereo sales. We just need somebody to fill in." And so the very first day I came in the store, and there was nothing to do in the stock room. So they just said, "Just go stand on the floor." And so then I decided I'm going to commit to memory every spec of everything in that room. So I went in the high-end room first. While I'm committing to memory the specs of everything, I have the catalog, and I have all the tags had the main bullet points of all the stuff with the price. And then a guy came in, walked in the room, and I just started talking to him. And I was like, "Oh, what car did you get?" I don't know that I'm how to sell. I'm not looking at it in the eye. I'm just kind of looking at the products. And I sold him a $4,400 stereo for his Jeep Grand Cherokee. And so then I walk over, and $4,400, and this is in 2000.
Yeah.
The equivalent of like 10, 12 G's today.
Yeah.
And so then I didn't have a rep number. I didn't know how to, put the SKUs in, but I knew all the model numbers. So I'm rattling them off, and the store manager comes over. He's like, "What's going on here?" And he pulled me aside. I said, he said, "What did you do?" I said, "I don't know." Guy came in, and I kind of told him what I would buy, and he bought it. And he says, "All right, you're not going to be in the stock room. You're going to sell." So within 9 months, so remember, I'm from the trailer park, and we recently moved into our first, nice house, like a normal house. I'm at Villanova. I'm the poorest kid at Villanova on the main line of Philadelphia, really wealthy area. And I found out at that moment that I got paid 16% of the profit. and it was like awakening the beast
Wow.
inside of me.
Yeah.
And so I went from making, I would
Especially
make like
not knowing.
$100. I'd go home and make $100 like organizing dumpsters for the local electrical and general contractor, just so I'd have $100 to buy some pizzas for and I'd have to stretch that 100 for the whole semester, to now making 16% of the profit. I was the #1 car stereo salesperson in the store within months. I was #1 in the tri-state area within like 9 months. I transitioned over to home theater. So now I'm making like $60,000, $70,000 in the year 2000 at 19, 20 years old. I'm freaking balling out of control.
Yeah.
I'm buying like Guess leather jackets, and I bought a Civic Si and put a $30,000 stereo in it. I had a 65-inch Mitsubishi Diamond rear projection in my dorm room.
Oh, if you had that, that's how you know you had money.
I had
a rear projection TV.
Yeah. Full, not just rear. I had the Mitsubishi Diamond. It was like $6,000.
Yep.
I had full 7-channel surround in my dorm room.
That's so stupid.
Blowing breakers at that point. Jeez.
And so I was, it was awesome. And here's the key. I freaking loved it. I loved the stuff. I loved learning about it. Then eventually, you're supposed to go to sales training when you're hired, but I was hired as a stock guy. So I didn't go to sales training for like 12, 13 months. Then they sent me to sales training. And I already knew everything. So I'm like #1 in the sales, training class. I'm teaching everybody. I'm teaching the instructor about, stuff and products.
I love that.
But I learned it was Xerox type training where it's top-down selling. So you start at the top and you talk about the feature, advantage, and benefit of the feature and the advantage, right? And so you start at the top. You never underestimate people. You don't profile them. But you qualify them by starting at the top, and you watch them. And if you show them a $3,500 receiver and they're like, look, this is not for me, I'm in the $400 range, and you kind of take them through that. It teaches you how to demo. So what I do on YouTube is what I learned how to do in a demo room, and show you here's how it sounds, and talk about crouching tiger, hidden dragon, the girl's going to run across the roof.
Was that the demo movie at the time?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Nice.
And the Matrix, of course, the lobby scene. And then to go look for obscure musical content and stuff to like show people, explain what they're going to hear and feel.
Live concert or something.
Really, really good at that. And so when I graduated, long story here to a short question. When I graduated, my buddies were going to work for Lockheed Martin and Unisys. They were getting internships. My grades were terrible because I was too busy making money. I would just go to class, figure it out. I'd come back from selling, make like, 10 grand or, in a week. I'd come back. All my buddies were studying for like 2 days straight. I'd walk in with a bag of chips.
You just have equipment on your mind, right? Like not necessarily
like,
the curriculum.
I know I'm going to get like a 52 on this exam by just showing up, but the curve will give me a C. And I just knew I need the piece of paper is right back there to the left. That's the $130,000 diploma right there.
Let's go.
Equivalent to, I think that's more like $400K today, something like that. And so I wanted that piece of paper. And I knew that. And my friends didn't know that. And so I had a leg up on them. Even though they were smarter than me and had better grades than me, I just knew what the world was going to present because I learned how to sell. And so when I graduated, I moved to Orlando and I became the #1 in sales in Orlando, but I'd reached a limit. I was making about 100 grand. A guy came in my store from Merrill Lynch, and it was 12-month interest-free financing on the TV that I eventually sold him. But he loved it. I never said like, how can I help you? That's like a cardinal sin in sales. Yeah. I walked up to him. I started talking about, what's your room like? How are you going to use it? How much light is in the room? I started qualifying him. He said, man, you'd be great at doing what I do. And so I sold him the TV. I was like, I took his car, but I wasn't super interested. And then we had the 12-month interest-free financing. And in the bottom, so the way that it worked back in the day is we had like a terminal that was connected via phone line. And you'd punch in all of the data that the credit app had, and it would give you like instant approve or decline via phone. So it would transmit the information. There'd be someone at GE Capital, and then they would transmit back approved. But in the bottom left-hand corner, you had to write what was your income. and you're supposed to circle annual or monthly. He wrote in the number, but didn't circle. And I had to ask him, is that per year or per month? He said, no, that's per month.
Wow.
And I was like, it was 48,000, per month.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, that's what I said. And I took it and I called him like the next day, and rest is history. I had 13 interviews to get the job over 2 years to get the job at Merrill Lynch. They said I looked like Opie Taylor.
13 interviews?
13 interviews over 2 years. Because I killed it. And I knew I was the smartest guy in the room when I walked in there, but I was 24 years old.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I looked like I was 12. And so the main director of the regional director said I looked like Opie Taylor.
Yeah.
Well, Opie Taylor's Ron Howard.
Yeah.
Once I figured out who Opie Taylor was, my very last interview, I said, look, I know you guys think I'm young and I look like Opie Taylor, but Opie Taylor turned into Ron Howard. So you need to hire me. And so they hired me, and that's how I made the transition. And I used engineering to design portfolios, to design my future. I didn't have the charismatic ability to go out and network and schmooze. And so I cold called. And so I just set numbers, and I made 200 dials a day. My goal was to make 400 a day. I chickened out on usually half of them. So I cold called, and then I asked people to join my retirement newsletter. Then I invited them to wine tastings and golf lessons. The irony is I don't golf and I don't drink.
Drink wine.
And so it was kind of stupid. And I don't really wear a suit. And so I was faking it to make it.
Yeah.
Sure.
But that 15, 16 years of my life is paramount in teaching me business and life.
Right.
So in the sales process, the first selling was retail. Somebody walks in a store, you maximize the sale. So you don't have to find the customer.
Yeah.
The next level is that Merrill Lynch provided me a platform, but no one was walking in the door. So I had to manufacture the customer, but I leveraged their name in the platform. The ultimate level is to start your own business where you have no platform and you have no customer.
Yeah.
And so these progressive steps in learning how to provide value via feature, advantage, benefit, top-down selling. So what you guys see me doing, by the way, this is very natural. I don't have to think about this, but I'm starting at the top. You want a Krensla. But if you can't do the Krensla, then we do the AR. If you can't do the AR, you do the Comet. If you can't do the Comet, you do the Active. If you can't do the Active, you suck.
Simple as that. Yeah. But hey, it's providing solutions and
so that's the story.
You know what? A couple of years ago, I would have just turned it off at this point.
And so that's the story of how I transitioned from engineering. So I never practiced as an engineer. I was never going to be a good engineer. I was destined for the management path, I'm sure. I never understood. I got in trouble in selling home theater often because I would step over the line. I got in trouble when I was a janitor for trying to improve the process and save money. I got in trouble when I was pushing carts at Walmart. I got in trouble at the post office. I had a walking route. I was a casual carrier, freshman or between when I came back was I was a freshman in college and then sophomore before I got the job at Bryn Mawr Stereo. I was making $9 an hour as a casual carrier. It was a 13-mile, 7-hour route. And I came back. I was able to get it down to 1 hour and 37 minutes. 7-hour walking route, 13 miles. And I would just hammer, and I thought I'd come back to the postmaster and I'd be like, I'm done. And he'd sit me down and he'd say, Matt, this is a 7-hour route, 1 hour lunch. It takes 8 hours. I was like, no. I think I can get it down to 1 hour and 36 minutes. I think I can get it there.
Yeah.
It's like, Matt, this is a 8-hour, 13-mile route. It takes 8 hours. And I'm like, no. You don't understand. Like, I can do that. I might even be able to get down to an hour 20. Maybe I can do 2 routes or 3 routes in a day. And he's like, Matt, it takes 8 hours. And then it dawned on me, oh, I stepped over the line. I'm making everybody else look bad. I thought I was it was a competition. I'm making everybody look good. I was hacking off the whole postal staff, because we all know that it should take a couple hours to do this, but this is government work.
This is the difference between someone who gets burnout and someone who doesn't.
Right. And so I'm like, I would try to memorize, because when you got in the post office, you'd have a bank of all the homes, and then it would be like a case. You'd walk in, you have left and right and then straight, and you'd have all the streets in a row of your walking route. And so what you would get, most of the mail was read digitally, but if it couldn't decipher it, you would it's called throw in the mail. And so you'd get stacks of mail like this tall every day, and you'd have to throw it in sequence, and you'd pull it out and you'd rubber band it and you'd send it off. And so I memorized every person. There's a couple thousand people on the route or something like that. I'd memorize every person, so I knew, like, if it was misaddressed, you would know exactly who that person was. You know exactly who's getting the Playboy magazine because cellophane, and you'd always be like, you'd get to know the people. You know where the dog was to avoid, and so then. After he told me that, I went to the Y and played basketball and worked out for 6 hours, and I did the route in 2 hours and enjoyed that summer.
Nice.
But I got in trouble. So I was getting in trouble at all these places. I eventually got in trouble at Merrill Lynch, eventually got in trouble at Raymond James. And then it finally dawned on me, I'm a freaking entrepreneur. This is why I'm getting in trouble. I should be working for myself.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the story. And
you realized it.
I wish I would have known when I was 20 years old. I would have started my own home theater business. But the question is, would I have had the requisite experience, financially, sales? Would I have been able to actually been an entrepreneur? So I don't dwell on that. This is the path, and this is how I should have done. This is how it was supposed to be.
Right.
Well, before we get to our tier list, Keeve has dropped by and said, Matt, is there any good junk on Amazon?
No. God dang it. He fills the void of the losers out there. Want to know what the cheapest piece of junk is.
I saw a $37, what was he calling it? Like a Mosmatic MTM like hybrid gun that's supposed to be really good for $37.
There's some really great OG drying aid, OG tire dressing, OG decon soap, all on Amazon now. So it's going to be great.
I think it's wild that your OG decon soap is Chemical Guys, and like watching that segment and seeing like a Chemical Guys product being sprayed in the TRC studio. I was like, what's happening right now?
Yeah, Chemical Guys Citrus Red comes from Warner Chemical. It was a tunnel car wash soap that they had repurposed from back in the day. This is early Chemical Guys. And then they weren't selling any of it, so they got rid of it.
Oh, man. Well, Doer?
Yeah.
You ready?
I think it's time for the tier list. It's not overly long, but I think it's still appropriate.
Okay.
So, Matt, normally we do tier lists with a bunch of the guests, and I feel like this one's appropriate. So let me pull this up.
Boy, here we go. You guys are gonna make me look bad like the Rad Company guys do.
No, never.
All right, so we're gonna start out, and this is our list. We have OG Spec at the top. We have Snout, which is second. It's fine. Just No, and Hex Lights is the absolute worst bottom trash.
Okay, all right.
So, selfishly, we're gonna start off with my neck of the woods and the Canadian Rockies.
Oh yeah, that's OG Spec for sure, buddy.
Very cool.
I don't know why I love Canada, but I just do. It's Heartland that, Amber Marshall and Heartland is my jam, dude. That's OG Spec for sure.
Speaking of.
So for people that don't know, in 2019, I had my second bout with like crushing can't function OCD. I lost my front tooth and I was going to have to get an implant. And so I was going to have surgery, and they're talking about drilling and crunching, and I'm freaking dying, just having a meltdown. And so I couldn't watch anything. I needed something, like if there was any mention of anything, it would send me off the deep end. And so I found this. I don't even like horses. They're stinky. They're gross. I'm not interested in it. But I start watching this like family show, Heartland, out of Canada, and then I watched through. It was 14 seasons at the time. I watched it all. That's like 310 hour-long episodes. I watched the whole thing. And then I start over at the beginning. The second time I watched it through, I start Google searching, like, who are these people? I mean, what age was Amber Marshall when she started the show?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the IMDb.
Then I start joining Facebook groups, and I'm enamored. So I've watched. So now there are 18 seasons. Something like 300 episodes. I've watched it 14 times over. Start to finish.
That's impressive.
Now, I'm usually doing 2 or 3 things at once, and so but Heartland is set in Okotoks in High River, which is just south of Calgary, and so it's like I want to branch there someday. I actually visited the set. I met a couple of the cast members. Like, we were there in town and they were shooting, and we just happened to walk by a couple of them, and so we took some pictures with them. Not Amber Marshall. I still haven't met Amber Marshall yet, but she has a store. We went to her store, and I got to see like the church and all the different places where they shoot the stuff. And we were actually walking by one of the places, and they kind of knew that we were fans, and so a lot of the production crew invited us in to see like the set of like the upcoming season. We just couldn't video any of it. It was super cool. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have this is something I shouldn't admit, but this is season 1, Amber Marshall, like authentic. I paid like $6,000 for this hat. So.
Can we see you put it on?
No, it's too small for my head.
it's the game worn hat.
So this is the Amber Marshall one. I have all my staff. They got me a Amber Marshall, signed, autographed, like for Christmas one day.
Love that.
Do you watch this?
I watched the first few seasons, like when it first came out. It's funny because when I was putting together the tier list and I looked up Heartland, I'm like, oh, those characters do not look like they did when I first started watching it.
Yeah. It would be hard for you to get through it, Joey. Like it was the right time, right place in my life. And so I became a super fan of something that helped me get through a rough spot. And so, Heartland's OG's back for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that story. I don't know why. That just seems like such a wholesome story. Like, it warms my heart for some reason.
Well, it's like a teenage girl show.
Yeah.
And I'm not that type. And like, I'm like, enamored with this, like, teenage love story horse show. It's
funny because my wife will, like, her algorithm will like recommend a lot of that kind of content to her, and then I'm like, oh, you're watching another one of like your teenage love shows, but then like I'll get sucked in somehow. Like, I'm sitting on the couch watching it, going through Instagram, making a reel or something, and then I get sucked into these things. So a lot of what I watch is literally just because my wife has had it on in the background.
Yeah. You start standing, in the other room looking at the TV.
Yeah, and I'm judging
then you walk
people,
in
and I'm like, what's wrong with that person? And then like I'm fully into the story now.
Yeah.
So like I have a VPN, and then I'll log, I'll because you can't watch the show. Yeah. And in Canada, so I have a VPN and then I like sign up for like a fake mailing address, and so I can watch like the show when they launch it.
It's so funny how like usually it goes the other way. It's us going down elsewhere, down to the US and stuff. It's never coming up. But yeah, so the new or the next one we have is Cree LEDs, and just thought I'd throw that in there on just high quality lighting too.
Yeah, Cree's got to go under the stout category. There's a lot of room for improvement there, especially from the distribution perspective. Like, they're really hard to get. I'm certain there are better lights out there, and I've been sort of prototyping and thinking about ones that have two. So Cree does a single strip of LEDs. So I've been learning about how they construct, and so Cree is like their drivers are driving the single strip of LEDs harder than if you had dual strip LEDs across.
Sure.
But the it's what I've been looking for a long time for the garage. You're taking this commercial fixture that's designed for like labs and skyscraper office buildings and stuff like that, and you put it in the garage, and it makes it amazing. I think there's still room for improvement. Heartland, there's no room for improvement.
It only goes up from there.
There's no room for improvement for Jasper.
Has the quality of the show not gone down in the 15 seasons, or
the first season's rough to watch because it's 2008. It's shot in 2007, 2008.
Okay.
So it's
even a
HD,
quality difference.
But the right. And then if you fall in love with the characters, then season 2, 3, 4, up to season 9, and then it kind of falls out. It's not as good. And so when I watch it, like I like 1, 2, 3, 1 through 8 is is my favorite.
I mean, I'm already 24 seasons deep into Grey's Anatomy, so I just have to keep going at this point.
Yeah.
So
Grey's Anatomy doesn't work for me because all the blood and guts,
medical stuff. So I mean, they've touched on. I have a heart condition, and they've touched on it in like 2-3 episodes, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. But then I think 2 of the patients they killed, and I'm like, that's not good.
Yeah. So the next one we got is, I think I know where it's going, is Snake River Farms.
Oh yeah, that's OG spec for sure, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah, Snake River Farm steaks. What you do is you go there and you order them, and you just know that you're going to spend $1,000 every time you go there. But those steaks will probably last you for hopefully 3 months or so.
Yeah.
Hopefully Shane still gets a discount for Snake River Farms. They're gonna reach out to.
I'm sure he does, but I don't. Yeah. Yeah. I need to be sponsored by Snake River Farm. I guarantee you I've sold a lot of Snake River Farms, turning a lot of people onto it.
Right. Matt, one of my goals for our podcast is if we ever reach the potential for sponsorships is not other detailing companies. It's food that I want. Like I want like HelloFresh. I want Snake River Farms. I want that kind of stuff. So that's where I want to get.
Yeah. I'll let you know the first time I get a sponsor. I haven't gotten one, so
we'll stay in touch.
Yeah. So the next one I have is detailing brushes. I want to know how you feel with that.
I mean, I guess it's fine. My stuff doesn't get dirty enough to need a detail brush. I want to like them because it's kind of fun to have, but I just don't use them. Like my emblems don't get dirty enough to use it.
Yeah.
I have one to do the lugs, but even then it's like most of the time I don't even need to clean the lugs off. My calipers are coated.
Have you picked up one of the brush cleaners? I think it would work. I don't know if you clean out your curveball for the dressing, but I think it would work well to get those bristles clean.
Yeah, well, so the way that I do tire dressing, I just feel like I have this like tick where I'll do like say a quarter of the tire, and then I feel a need to like get the brush wipe. So I'll have the 12x12 gauntlet towel.
You're cleaning it as you go.
Lap, and so I clean it as I go, and then that's kind of how I do it. So I like wipe the excess off of it. I don't know if I'm making that up or if it actually works, but it seems to work for me as I'm applying.
If it's working for you.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
So the next one, which I think kind of made your name across, is Swiss Tracks.
Yeah. So the basic Swiss Track story is that I got epoxy floors done and it failed, like almost all epoxy floors eventually do. I also had not realized, why I did a chipless system. The reason why they do the chips is to mask the fact that it looks terrible.
Yeah, a cover up.
It's right. It's a
mine's got a couple chips here and there, but I'm like, you need a lot more than that.
You've got to like lay it on because you're rolling this really thick material on with a roller, and so of course you're going to be able to see the lines and the pock marks and all that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to buy. So Tanner Faust had a video where he had rubber tracks, and I'm like, man, that would be great because the rubber wouldn't make noise. And so I called Swiss Tracks and I got Sarah, who's now a long-term friend of mine. I got her on the phone and I'm like, look, Sarah, I want to do this rubber tracks thing. What do you think about it? She's like, well, you can't drive on it. I'm like, oh crap. Well, that doesn't solve the problem. So I tried to hang up with her and she talked me into it. She said, man, I'm telling you, like this is different. It's different than race deck. It's different than what you're used to. It doesn't click and clack. The reason why I hated plastic interlocking tiles, I played volleyball in college, and they would put sport court on a concrete floor. It's horrible. It just makes my joints hurt thinking about it.
Fair
Then
enough.
it curves, solid flooring curves at the joint. So I'm like, I don't want this clickety clackety, plastic bull crap. And so she talked me into it, sent me the floor, and the rest is history. And it's so counterintuitive to what everybody thinks. The garbage or the stuff, the dirt and stuff goes underneath it. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. The water goes underneath it, runs underneath it, can evaporate up through it. You vacuum it once a 6 months, a year, depending on how much, grime and stuff you're dealing with. You take it out, like, Rick always inspires me every year. He takes it out and cleans out his,
those are his best videos.
His Swiss tracks, right?
That's my plan for Sunday or Monday is to pull that out.
And so I think Swiss Tracks goes in the stout category, not OG spec, because it is still plastic interlocking tile. It's still, doesn't look super high end. But what is our other option? Our other option is porcelain tile that costs, $20 a square foot. Like super high quality, low slip rating. But the disadvantage to that is then you have to mop it and vacuum it all the time, sweep it out all the time. Especially if I don't know about you guys, but I like to have my garage door open and when it's nice outside and
absolutely.
Leaves and debris is blowing in there all the time. And so Swiss Tracks doesn't allow it to like blow all the way back onto your cabinet. So that's the Swiss Track story. And now I've, sold, I don't know, tons of Swiss Tracks. It's been great.
Yeah, I remember when I got mine, my neighbor kind of came over and we're cutting it, and he's looking at it. And he was like, "That's cool. What's that?" And I kind of told him because he's a Harley guy, and his garage has all the the neon lights and all that stuff. And then it was the following spring. He had one of those pods in his driveway, and he emptied it out of his garage, and he ended up buying Swiss Tracks and did the whole thing. And I'm like, heck yeah, this is great.
Well, I know the moment that I put flooring in my garage because I don't have Swiss Tracks now. The moment I do put them in, it's just going to make more people walk up the driveway and talk to me. So like it's like a two-edged sword, right? Like I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, and Swiss Tracks is, Race Deck was the originator of it. So, but they don't have the same interlocking system, and so it doesn't have the same stoutness. It's thinner. The tiles are smaller. It's not as the polypropylene material is not as dense and it's not as high a quality, and so it's not worth getting the Race Deck sale. You want to wait for Swiss Tracks. The 3/4 inch thick tile is the key component.
Yeah. So the next one we have is probably one of your favorites, is Zebra Cakes.
Yeah, Alex, you really do watch my stuff.
I'm out of the loop on the Zebra Cakes.
So I am a sucker for the most processed garbage.
I watched you eat an entire bag of Canadian gummies in Anthony's garage.
So I have a few talents. One of them is to eat mass quantity of junk, right?
Yeah.
Lay down for 30 seconds and then get back up and do some more.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just love Zebra Cakes. Something about them is great. But I've had to remove them from my life because I found out that they have the folic acid, and that is possibly a large contributor to, anxiety and problems. And so I've had to swear off Zebra Cakes. Not to say I'll never
find a way to make them from scratch.
I haven't had one in 2 years probably now.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. But like
I don't know the last time I had a Zebra Cake, but I assume that the Christmas trees are the same variety.
The Christmas tree is my favorite. Yeah,
the Christmas tree is pretty damn good.
That's a V. Like it goes down quick.
Yeah, right. It's 2 bites. Like I don't know, the pictures make it look bigger, but like that's a 2-bite thing.
Right. Yeah, the little green sprinklers on there. Oh my.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Oh man. I know you're not a coffee drinker, but like the Christmas tree and the cup of coffee on Christmas morning really did it for me.
So I will eat I'll eat the entire box.
Right.
Not one pack, the entire box. Like I've eaten an entire box on a podcast before.
Like, do you feel like shit at the end of the day, or like are you just built for this?
Yeah. Not great.
Okay.
Not great. It depends on how deep I'm into bad. You know, if I'm into bad a lot, then I'll feel fine.
Yeah.
But if like today I went
you're
and ate a box of
clean
zebra
and then
cake,
that.
then it hits you like a freight train. Yeah.
Yep.
But I could still knock a box down or a box and a half down in inside of 5 minutes, not rushing, just eating. Just one at a time. You know,
we've got to find like an organic, like folic free version of this. If anyone's watching,
we need a European version where we don't
have
exactly American crap in it. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we got to send a pallet to Matt.
Yeah, zebra cakes have to stay in the just no, but they are OG spec for sure. Yeah,
and the I like that. And to round out the tier list in the episode, we have the HOA.
Oh yeah, that's the hex lights.
Okay,
HOA goes back to this whole microcosm of finding the line and stepping over the line. And when you're entrepreneurial in nature, when you're wired that way, especially if you don't know it. And HOA is the opposite of that. HOAs are actually more powerful than really any other legal entity in existence.
Yeah.
And so, and you get up with a bunch of goofs that are, get some power and it becomes real problematic. I'm trying to improve the darn thing to the fact that in the one neighborhood, I bought a $6,000 garage door and they wouldn't let me put it in.
Yeah.
I had to just give it away. And I couldn't sell it because it was a custom size.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's terrible.
That's frustrating.
Yeah. So I've moved out of a couple of them.
Yeah. I think for me it's the not having your garbage and recycling cans outside. That just kind of, even if you build like an enclosure or a wall to hide it from street view, that's just.
I've tried to keep them in the garage. That's not in the Sacramento heat, 115 degrees. I'm not. There's no way I'm keeping my trash cans indoors.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, especially in a one car, it takes up like 20% of your.
Oh, forget it. If it does not need to be in the, like my wife and I, I had a broom that I was keeping just right outside the garage door on the side of the house, and she was like, "This belongs inside." I was like, "I'm trying to put everything that doesn't need to be here out there."
Yeah.
What's our viewership look like, guys? Have we hit any records or anything?
I think we were
hovering. We hung around 40 plus for a good while. I don't know what the record is, but that's pretty good viewership. Yeah. We only have like 300 and something subscribers, so when we get an actual percentage of that or the views line up with our subscribers, we're happy. Does not need to be a viral thing. We're not buying subscribers or views or whatever like some other people do. We just keep it.
I have never once looked at the analytics tab.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Some people send me screenshots of theirs. I was like, I what am I looking at?
Yeah. It's I don't know how to navigate this. Yeah, this is our worst time on a Friday outlet. So
I know that people are getting off work or they're going out to dinner or whatever. It is the worst time possible, but it works and like we've said before, we're not trying to make money off of this. That's not the goal. This was just a nice 2.5 hour conversation with a bunch of good dudes. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I always assume that no one's going to watch.
Yeah. Oh, you can't fail if that's your expectation.
Yeah, if I'm hosting an event, no one's going to show up. If I'm making a video, no one's watching it, no one cares. And then I'm just talking to my one buddy, sitting on a stool, which is the camera.
Yeah,
he's sitting on a stool, just hang, garage hang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and this person, which is the camera, is really great at a garage hang because he doesn't talk back. He lets me share, and that's kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Yep. I admire that because it's tough. I've tried to do the camera thing, right? Most of my videos are reels showing the product or my experience with the product. I'm not talking to the camera, and I've tried to do it a few times, and it just feels like even our pre-recorded stuff for TRCMA, just trying to nail the take is just so foreign to me and frustrating, and it doesn't feel natural to me. So the people who do that day in, day out, or can just turn the camera on and talk that's a skill.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things you don't know unless you try, and then you try it and you're like, oh, this isn't for me. You know, for me, it was, you know, just immediately, like as soon as I turned it on and I started talking about something I love. Same thing would happen like at a dinner party. Like if I'm like with a bunch of people, bunch of regular people, I'd call them, and like I'm just have to sit there and like talk about things. I don't know, politics or life or how's the weather. I'm just like a total introvert, like uncomfortable. But if you get me going about, you know, I'll have a diatribe of, you know, the virtues of, you know, of carnauba wax versus, you know, resin delivered coatings and you know, or whatever, then I'm like, I'm holding court. The problem is when you're with regular people, they cut you off. You know, they don't let you finish it. They ask it, they don't really care. And I hate that. And so that's why the camera is so great for me, because the camera doesn't cut me off. Lets me go.
Yeah.
There's many times I've like with social anxieties and stuff like that. Those are the exact conversations that I think about, like, okay, this is what's going to be spoken about at this dinner, and I'll talk myself out of it. Right. Like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
I don't want to go to that dinner. But yeah, the camera thing is still foreign to me. People, oh, you have a podcast. Oh, you did TRCMA, but yeah, it's still foreign to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's something that you could develop a skill, you know. It's
I haven't like tossed it aside. It's just it's not my first thing when I go, oh, I'm gonna go make a video today. It's not me in front of the camera.
You already have the skill. It's the comfort level of, you know, can you develop a comfort level?
The baby steps. So, but yeah, no, I think it's
we don't take shots here, Keith. We don't take shots.
Oh geez. No, we're a neutral party over here.
Do you want to know about? I could talk about, if you want. I can tell you what buying subscribers, what that means.
Yeah, I mean it's a hot topic lately. If you've got the time.
Yeah.
So I've tested this, you know, quite a bit, and so there's one way you can like buy an old channel, right, and then people know. Like no one watching, there's no views. And so when I was doing the Adam LZ project, what we were doing was, because I knew I'd have the extra engagement from Adam's channel. And so we were getting, our normal videos get 15 to 25,000 views. And so while I'm there, we're doing this project, I'm getting 50 to 75,000 views, something like that. And so I knew I would have extra engagement. And so if I add a little fuel to that, my goal, subscribers don't matter as much as for me, if I'm approaching a brand about becoming a dealer, and if I call them and said, look, I have 1 million subscribers, it just opens the door. You know, it's a very different conversation when I had 200,000 versus 500,000. You know, it's just, they take you seriously. So it opens a lot of doors. And so one of the goals I've had was to, the million doesn't, I'm probably still going to get the same 20,000 views, right? If I have 1 million subscribers, and I've actually gotten kind of penalized for testing this out. So during the LZ project, I gave my, you know, marketing team a $20,000 budget, you know, monthly $20,000 budget. You could spend $20,000. And what we found is that if we ran, say, the M3 documentary, and used Google's ability to target, and we tried to target M3 people who are interested in cars or M3s, we were able to, you know, push that video and run that video as an ad, you know, for you know, and spend money. It cost us about 85 cents per acquired subscriber. But the theory was, and so we were able to measure this, that a certain percentage of them would eventually go to the Obsessed Garage store, and we could measure this specifically. And so it took us about 4 months to recover that 85 cents spend. And then, you know, if you have a guy that's good at this, then we're tracking. We had gotten to the point where it cost us $1.20 to get a subscriber, and so we shut it down for a while. And so from, say, 450,000 to 650,000, a good chunk of that, probably 50 to 60% of that, some of it was the engagement from LZ and the momentum. The other half, or 40% of that, was from paid advertising. And so I advertised. The other thing we ran was build a garage in 10 minutes. And so what we were attempting to do was to turn people on that didn't know we existed. So I don't want to just buy the number. The number doesn't do me any good. I need to recoup my money invested. And so I spent for like 6 months, we spent, somewhere around 20,000. So we spent 120 grand to acquire, say, 250,000 subscribers. And the lion's share of those subscribers have stayed. And then a good percentage, maybe 10, 12% have gone and bought something, which has recouped the cost. And so buying subscribers is a business tactic that I'm looking to build because YouTube is the top of funnel marketing for me. And so I'm looking to build that funnel. And so then you get some subscribers. So anybody who, and chances are, you don't just wasting money. There, you have some angle like I have, where if you are going to buy subscribers, that there's a purpose to it.
Yeah.
And so, losers who start naysaying it don't know what the heck they're talking about. Even if somebody I don't like, or I can't think of a YouTuber I don't really like, but let's say there's somebody I don't like. Let's say I don't like Pan, and Pan's a good friend of mine. And so I don't like Pan, and he's buying subscribers. Well, if he was, there's probably some business reasons, because Pan's a good steward of his money. He doesn't waste money. And so if he was, there'd be some purpose, some business purpose behind it. Especially if you're at that level where you're 6, 7, 8, 900 million, 2 million subscribers. So yeah, Bruce is right. That's an advertising expense. It's a business decision. Even, companies like the Clean Garage, when they started out, they bought an Instagram handle and rebranded it. So they started off with like 20,000 subscribers, and they had to pay for, it might have been a underwater basket weaving, Instagram or Russian bot created. So people would give them a hard time for that, but I'm not fans of theirs. They're not fans of mine, but they're looking to build a business and a marketing business. And so they made that business decision to go buy the subscribers. And so the fake advertising thing, or you're buying them. I mean, somebody like me is laughing all the way to the bank, because I'm not wasting money for the vanity of it. I'm only going to use it if there's a return. In fact, I turned it off when the returns weren't as lucrative, because we're measuring it and being smart about it. So that's what anybody who's doing that, almost always there is some sort of business advertising reason to do it.
Right.
So if you guys did it, you went and just figured out a way to get Russian bot subscribers, what is the purpose of that? Now, maybe you were going to leverage that number to go to brands and say, hey, I've got this many subscribers. The problem is brands are smart enough to know that what's your CPM, what is your engagement, how many, what's your average watch time, those kind of things is what you would have to leverage. That's part of the reason why I never monetized or done any live reads or sponsorship advertising, because my CPM is so low. I'm not getting large views. And so I'd get like $800 and I'd be staking my reputation on $800. I might leverage my reputation if I was making, like Tavares will get, $50,000 for a month of 5 30-second live reads. Adam LZ will, get an integration with Blue Apron and get a 6-month deal where he'll get, $15K a month to do 25 ads or something like that. I'm going to get $150, and so it's not worth the reputational hit that you take from the advertising. So I decided to negotiate, build a retail business off the back of the top of the funnel, which is YouTube. And then Instagram, there was no benefit for me trying to buy subscribers, so I didn't do that. Facebook, there's no benefit to me trying to buy subscribers, so I'm not going to invest in any advertising there. On Instagram, I would be better off promoting some product I'm selling. Like we're going to start a TikTok shop as well, and so I'll put advertising dollars there. I'll put advertising dollars toward Amazon and the products on the site there. And so anybody doing it is going to have some reasonable basis for why they're doing it. And just calling people out, we're laughing at you if you don't, because clearly don't understand what's going on. And so that's part of the deal. Now, I probably should have just shut up years ago and done donuts free, and I would have had 1 million subscribers 5 years ago. Pan started 6 years after me, and he passed me up like a rocket ship. Now, but Pan is providing a broad, appealing service. or he is doing a, quote unquote product review. He's reading the back of the bottle and showing you how it works and doing that over and over and over again. And then eventually, getting onto something that goes viral. I've chosen to just stay, and I've never figured out virality. Payne is also he's a savant in figuring out what's trending. He's looking at, AdWords, what Google words are trending, what in detailing is trending. And that helped him build a much bigger audience much quicker, which has now benefited him with his own product line. Yeah. He's able to now leverage that and go and build a product line. You could question the choice, but it's all of this is just a choice. Do you want to advertise? Do you not? What is the choice? I chose to build a retail business. Some would say is not true. I mean, I'm only selling what makes me the most or pays me the most. But almost always the hope is that you're doing this for the purpose of providing value to the customers and the people that are watching. And I try not to use that word fans or audience. I call myself a YouTuber just out of joking because I don't look like one. Like I'm on a plane and I'll say I'm a YouTuber.
Yeah.
I'm a YouTuber. So that's
like it.
That's the story behind buying subs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, and it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's going for a purpose, versus just the number is really meaningless if you just want it to be a big number. But if there's purpose behind it, then it makes sense.
Even if you don't agree with the purpose, people don't waste money. People hopefully aren't stupid.
Hopefully.
Donut Media was all Donut Media was this giant platform, was all VC funded, and they contrived the whole thing. They put the whole thing together. The Motor Trend Network, the Motor Trend YouTube channel, they bought all kinds of that. They, advertised, the whole Donut Media thing. I remember when they started out and they reached out to a bunch of, young creators like me at the time or new creators. And it was it was interesting to see. I'm like, this is going to freaking fail. This is terrible. And they've like 10 million, 20 million subscribers. All the original talent went out and started their own stuff. Same thing with Hoonigan, and all those guys went out, Vin and all those guys went out and started their own things. And have been extremely successful, so.
Very cool. Matt's an influencer.
I am. I mean, I'm the classic definition of it, but not in the sense of, what's up, gang? You see that guy on, I don't know if you've seen that guy who's gone viral and he like messes with his wife. He's pretending to influence, he's like, hey, gang, like when they're in Costco and his wife's mortified, so.
Or like when someone snaps at the beginning of a video, like, hey guys. That's kind of influency, right? Like
specifically the Idaho ones with the truck.
The Idaho GDM lovers, But I think that brings us to like a good stopping point. We had I don't want to speak for Alex, but I had an amazing conversation. I learned a lot about Matt this time. And yeah, you didn't even have to pay me to be a subscriber. Look at that. Like that was an organic thing.
Yep.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Joey, I appreciate you. And I could tell, when I got there, I'm like, I bet you this guy doesn't like me. I didn't know the story.
Right.
And I really
I'm sorry that my resting bitch face was that obvious when you walked in the door.
And so I think that it teaches me also a lesson. This is part of the reason why I've left comments behind is I need to give people a chance instead of shutting them down, give people a chance to come around, and so early on, I didn't give a flip. So I don't care. I was at a job and I was just doing this for fun. So if you don't like it, screw you. So I can just say screw you to myself and just leave it out, and so there is some maturing that happens. I say that we're all like infants on social media, no matter what age you are when you start out. And so it takes you a while to get your high school diploma and then your undergrad degree. And I say that I'm sort of sitting for my PhD right now. I'm writing my PhD thesis, right?
Right.
And so I'm figuring out how to navigate it and how to Tavares, Matt Armstrong, Roman Atwood. These guys have like multiple PhDs in engagement. Now, the thing that's frustrating about a lot of content creators is they're really good at engaging and enrolling people, but they're not. Their subject matter is suspect,
right?
And so I wanted to be a actual subject matter expert and have a lot of substance, and focus on that, and then again use YouTube as a way to engage and get out of my own head. And the results are the results. That's not what you're leading with. Never lead with a transaction. Never lead with a result. Always lead with a greater purpose, and the results will come if you're providing some value. And so if you stay in that headspace, all these other nonsense things like, am I buying subscribers or am I, likable or unlikable? None of that stuff really matters if you're providing value to the world. It's undisputable. Joe Rogan says, be undeniable. And so that's something I focus on all the time, is just be undeniable no matter what anybody says, because it really doesn't matter, what they say.
I think what my thing was I think I was mistaking your confidence for arrogance, like you said, in the earlier in the show. And I think that was my immediate, like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to watch this guy, but talking to you and people who are confident, right? Like, people are drawn to people who are confident, right? And that was evident in Boise. Like, people were drawn to a circle around you. They wanted to know more about you because that's how you present yourself. You present that confidence. And I think that may be where people are mistaking it's where I mistook the confidence for arrogance.
Yeah. And I can get better, and I'm going to get better at that as time goes on to hopefully not have that happen. Now I don't want to live my life beholden to that.
Yeah. You can't please everybody.
Right. That's never, doesn't matter how much, because then you go too far on the fake it scale and you lose all the people who like who
like you for who you are. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. But I think there is a way to I've certainly gotten better at it. It's so funny when people say, man, he is so much worse than he used to be. I'm like, no way. I'm like a freaking
I would say that's a lie. And like, I didn't follow you for very long, but I would say that.
I mean, Alex has seen it. I mean, I was like, you want to meet me in the back alley, kind of thing. Yeah. And so that's been the epiphany, is to, as you mature, as I have more responsibility, the words that I use, I need to be responsible with them. I need to be authentic, but appropriately authentic. Sure. I didn't have the appropriate part down pat. And there probably was, quite a bit of arrogance at times. Arrogance is just masked insecurity, right? And so you're putting on that bravado to mask the really an insecure, stance. And then we talked about imposter syndrome. I'm not sure I even belong. No one wants me here. I'm in this territory that I shouldn't be disrupting. And so that's happened over time.
I had the imposter syndrome during the Lake Country segment. Let me tell you.
Oh, what a time. What a time.
Oh, boy.
But cool. Sorry to keep you guys so long. You've been trying to get me off of here. Once you get me talking about myself, you get me talking about myself, and I'm good to talk all darn day long.
Enthusiast says this is the longest podcast so far, right? And I think you have the record now, Matt.
We should. We only got 4 minutes. We should just get to the 3 hours.
We can keep it. We can round it to. I mean, if you got 4 more minutes of stuff to talk about yourself with, let's do it.
I'm sure I could.
Yeah, I think the engagement on this one's going to be pretty good.
So, yeah,
Joey, I don't think you need to worry, Joey. I think we're going to keep all of our subscribers. We're not going to lose.
What's the over under? How many haters do you think we've converted on this? Do they still not believe me?
I saw someone mention that they were thinking about maybe they were eyeing the Mosmatic gun. So maybe there's one conversion.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
I have OG drying aid out for delivery right now. There's half a conversion.
Yeah,
I haven't tried it yet. I might hate it.
That's worth more than.
I like this stuff back here. The amplify. So
yeah, it's not even close. Bradley, give him a hard time about that. See, this is where it's awesome that Bradley and DJ can give me the room to do that and say that, and then Bradley can bust my balls and say, "Well, why don't you tell me how to make it better then?" Yeah, and I said, "Well, that's not my job. You do it." Right now, I think it sucks. I don't think it sucks, but OG, it's not even close.
I mean, that's a bold statement because
it's
Amplify,
not even close.
It's my go-to. So
We're not even in the same ballpark.
Ooh, Joey. That can be your on camera review. Is OG Drying Aid versus Amplify?
Yep, it's not close. OG Drying Aid is a better bead maker.
Ooh, okay.
OG Drying Aid is not OG. Let's not give me any credit here. OG Drying Aid is B&B Slipstream.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
It's Adams CS3 or whatever the heck it is.
Is it CS3 or Slick and Slide?
I don't know. This is part of the rub with Adams is they're so, they own B&B and they're missing out on the best products they have. Like OG Tire Dressing, they could have it. I mean, they own the darn company.
Right.
Have you tried Adams Home Surface Cleaner?
No, I haven't. Is it like a reverse engineer and all surface cleaner or something like
that? I know that. Well, no. It's I know they came out with it during COVID, I think, because like people needed cleaners and stuff. But it's got like the benzalkonium whatever stuff that like kills basically makes the entire surface pure. And I buy the stuff like whenever it's on sale, I'm buying gallons of it. So I don't know, maybe something for you to look into. But
in what universe I think people just like Amplify's bottle better because it's not even close. Like what could you, Bruce? What could you possibly like about it? There's nothing better about it. Slickness, look, wipe off. There's nothing better about it. I want it to be better. I was ready to punt. I'm like, well, Bradley's definitely nailed this. I'm gonna punt OG Drying Aid. I'm gonna, I'm gonna go from a 60% margin to a 50% margin. But whatever, I got to do the right thing. And then I got them like this is not doing anything. It's not even close.
I like to think I'm a Drying Aid connoisseur, so I can't wait to try them side by side.
So Keeve was a hater.
Yeah.
Then he was a lover. And then he was a hater again. I somehow turned him off again. And I think he might be back. He's probably jury's still out, right? So
and then we got Rick. I think Keeve is an Amazon junk peddler.
Ooh, shots fired.
Shots fired, yeah. We were actually Rick and I were at Carzilla, and I told him, I can't remember because Chris had a few of the OG products, and I can't remember which one Rick bought. I basically grabbed it off the shelf and I told Rick, I'm like, hey, you're gonna like this. Like,
smells better, Bruce. That's the first thing that tells me you don't know what you're talking about. If something smells better, that doesn't mean anything.
What's funny is Bruce saying something smells better when he's out here making videos telling us not to sniff things.
Ooh, right. That's true. That's true.
Come on, Bruce. You can't flip flop like that.
Well, guys, we hit the 3-hour mark. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at us go.
You know what? I feel pretty good. My car's going to stay dirty the rest of the night.
I could go to 4 if you want, but it's up to you guys.
This is how I know you don't watch our podcast too much because Doer's very particular about dinner time.
Oh man,
he needs to eat.
Oh yeah.
It's family dinner time on Friday nights, and I'm probably in the doghouse because I keep him every time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap her up here. Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to start rambling that nobody cares about.
Right. That's right.
Well, we would love to have you back on another episode whenever you want to rant or rave about anything. If you've got anything to talk about, just let us know.
Well, what you'll have to do, you have to convince your wives that like, hey, I've got to go and collaborate, so I've got to make a trip to Orlando, and like, and then we'll get you to like 5,000 subscribers or something like that.
Look at that.
Is
that buying subscribers? Is that
no, I don't think collaboration doesn't count as that. I mean,
okay,
that's the way to do it. Is you go.
Well, my in-laws live in Florida, so that might be it's another reason.
I could probably sell a trip to Florida to the significant other. That's probably
but open invitation. Come hang out, shoot some videos.
Dude, we keep getting all these open invitations. People like us or something, man. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Doing something right.
Yeah.
Well, Doer, why don't you click those buttons before I screw everything up? And thank you again, Matt. Thank you for
thanks everybody
plus of you for staying around for 3 hours. Like that's beyond what I could imagine. So we appreciate all of you.
Thanks to the possible maybe 1 convert and maybe 3 that are considering it. Just give me a chance.
We didn't make you any promises, Matt.
I'm a really nice guy. I just have a what was it? RBF or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. He's working on the RBF.
Thanks everyone.
All right. See you guys,
man.